Hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lindsay's lazy sick day stream. How's it going? I should scroll up. It sort of warmed my heart a little bit to come on here and see that y'all were already chatting. I literally thought that I clicked the wrong link because I was like, there's already people talking about things. Firsties, ghoulies. Have not been by since this morning, but saw two trollish comments, the one from yesterday, where you replied with banana skyscrapers. Did you remove that? Yes, I removed it. That's kind of the plan, is, I'm gonna do the reply, and then let it sit for a bit, and then screen grab it, and then delete it. I'm not gonna leave that stuff sitting there. I'm gonna collect a little trophy case, because I don't want there to be, like, this, crazy toxic chain underneath. Though it was kind of fun seeing some people on the side of good and righteousness, on the side of nonsense, chime in. So I grabbed some screen grabs of those too, but this is still an experiment. I'm still wrapping up some fence clearing before dark. May not reply, but we'll scroll back. Banana skyscrapers, what? Eventually, once I have like sort of a bundle, then I'll do like a post of the nonsense. Basically me following through on my plan on just responding to, just to contextualize, is I didn't want to I'm sick of just enduring annoying comments, and I also don't want to engage annoying comments, so I'm experimenting with replying with nonsense sentences. And so the first one, and it was probably the most toxic comment that I've ever gotten, which I should really expect, because the topic of the video is about trolls, so if that doesn't make the trolls, it's a troll milkshake that brings all the trolls to the yard. But I was like, wow, somebody understood the assignment. So I'm like, and I had literally just been talking to a buddy of mine about the kind of nonsense that I was thinking about saying. And so I just copied and pasted those examples into this thing because I was like, ooh. And so then I had that as a pin for a while because it was such a perfect example of what I was talking about. So I pinned the crappy comment and my reply because I'm like, look, there's an example of in the wild of what I said I was going to do. I'm good on my word. I said I would give them the nonsense, and so I did. And then I left it there for a little while, and then I, muted and got rid of it. But I let it hang out there for a little while. There's another one that's still on there that I haven't removed yet. But I'll probably circle back to that at some point, probably tonight. That video did remind me of Act 1 of The Burbs. I haven't seen The Burbs, which is kind of weird because we did a musical based on it when I was in high school. Anyway, Lindsay had a video this week about troll comments. Yep. Yeah, you were screen grabbed, Doc. Make no mistake. Your contribution. Did you see that I responded with incontinence? That was fun. That would be kind of fun to see people participate in that. Watch the video, and I've been thinking about it. I was joking with my sister about when we open our apothecary, we need to put a rage room in the basement of it, yeah. Did you bring the banana skyscraper? Incontinence. And I love this formula. This was something I told my friend I was going to do, of starting it with, I see your point, but just to trick them into starting to read it. Instead of just starting with the nonsense, make it almost sound like, and especially the one that's still up there, I almost made sense. Almost. I think I could see somebody, my microphone volume is too loud. I could see somebody reading what I put and thinking, because I don't say like banana skyscrapers, I use like abstract kind of $10 very autistic words, which might actually be more fun than things like banana skyscrapers. Like, because really the trolling, the counter trolling, is to really make them think I actually said something. Like, I want them to be confused and to waste their time. That's really how I get my revenge. The comment that is still up there that I did one of these replies to was basically somebody being kind of high and mighty, being like, "Don't you see the irony of, you know, people being toxic and you being toxic back," kind of a thing? And I'm just like, I don't care about being the bigger person anymore, hun. Like, I'm done with that. Like, I have been trying to be good enough for the internet my entire 20 years, and I'm just tired. I'm just tired of trying to. It doesn't help. It doesn't make it stop. And I'm like, the only way that I'm gonna be able to coexist with this shit is if I do something that is in some way, like, closes out the loop in my nervous system in some way. And this is just what I'm playing with. And, maybe I'll decide that I hate it and that it's too toxic and that I hate doing it. But right now, it is just making me, it's just, but the goal, people who say that kind of shit just aren't gonna get to me because my goal isn't to be a good person anymore. It just isn't. I'm thinking about my own assessment of the potential damage and outcome, not whether or not my behavior is socially approved of. You know? Because there is a difference between harming someone and making that person not like you. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do is to allow people to not like you. Like like what the Batman movie, right? Wasn't there like a Batman movie where like he let the whole city think that he was the bad guy because it was the right thing to do? Like, sometimes sacrificing your reputation, not that I'm like heroic for what I'm doing here or anything, but like there's social the way the internet socialization functions really makes it confusing. I think I've been really confused my whole life, thinking if I'm doing the right thing, people will like me, but that is not always true. You know? Once again, I wouldn't exactly describe this as me doing the right thing, but I don't think that what I'm doing is harmful, and that's what I care about, is figuring out a way to do something that's not harmful. If the most harm that comes from this is people thinking I'm an asshole, I'm good with it. Like, truly good with it. You know, the most horrible people that I've ever known in my life, the people that they hurt the most, hated themselves instead of the person who was hurting them. And I'd rather people dislike me than dislike themselves. Oh, now I need to scroll back down. Testing. Alright, I missed when trolls are funner. And that's like really the thing, is every other kind of solution I'd come up with was either full on feeding the trolls or I'm sick and I forgot the end of that sentence. Engage with the worst of the trolls because I can't recall you ever saying Fallout 4 was your favorite. Banana skyscraper sounds like an upscaled banana split. Yeah, it kind of does. I was just thinking about like what two words would never have anything to do with each other. I think banana hammock came to mind, but that's literally like a sign, like for like a man thong. But I'm like, okay, a banana hammock is a thing, but there's no such thing as a banana skyscraper. One guy may have been a little harsh. It was still true. Sometimes a dose of reality is what's needed. Oh, that guy, you know what? If I'd had more energy. Okay, now I'm talking about like the super mean thing that I said to that guy who said that the TV show was ruining what the franchise was about. I almost feel like I should have given Atlas some credit when I was saying that, like, because I haven't played Fallout 1 and 2, but when I told Atlas about that interaction, he was like, literally every single game in some way or another, the surface is the experiment. And I was like, I didn't even think to point that out in my reply because I wasn't certain that that was true. But it was really Atlas that pointed out to me that, like, what this person said was just nonsense. And to anybody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, in the most recent video, the trolling video, I told this story about how I was just so exhausted by, you know, TV show haters. Oh, thank you for the super chat. This comment, this was basically pointing out how, like, the show was stupid because the surface was not the experiment, it was the folly of mankind or whatever. And what he said was honestly not, it was just annoying and kind of rude, but it wasn't like some of the vicious shit that I've seen. But the point I was kind of trying to make in that troll video was sometimes it's not really about how bad the comment was, it's the abundance of them, you know, because from my perspective, I'm just collecting all of these comments from all of these people. So if, you know, one person says something that's not a big deal, then, but if like 100 people, and it's like every time I post a video, there's people who hate the TV show that decide that I'm the person that needs to hear all about that. And I'm not that person. It's, very, very hard, to, because it's not like normal human social interaction where, you know, you might go day to day talking to people in day-to-day life, and, you know, you should be resilient, that there are some assholes out there who will say rude things for sure, but everything is sped up and supercharged on the internet. So the amount of, the density of the feedback, which is why I don't have notifications turned on my Lindsay's Fallout account. I don't see any, comments until I log into Studio and have like a looking at comments session so that I can process it all at once. Because if I got pinged with that shit, I'd blow my brains out. Trolling trolls seems pretty fair to me. I agree. Especially because, you know, I think you're the one who was talking about trolling used to be funny. Like, what I'm doing is, I think, the most non-hostile form of disrespect I could possibly come up with. It's always a chaotic social space, so I can understand why it would be exhausting. I mean, we're all still learning in life how little we know of our perceptions of reality. Which is one of my favorite little topics. Banana potassium. That's too related. Because bananas are an excellent source of potassium. So the initial takeaway I got from your video about trolls is there needs to be something like Yelp where commenters can be reviewed. But reviewed how? There is a moderation system. I kind of talk about that in the video. Like, basically either a robot has to flag it based on some sort of criteria, and what criteria is that? Or I have to review it, which means I still have to see it. I think that one of the best ideas, if you're, whoever said this is in there, take credit, but somebody was talking about flagging entire phrases. Because I know how to flag, like, a specific word. Like, I use the word disgusting as an example in the video, because usually any sentence that has disgusting isn't something I want to hear. But the problem is, like, how do I tell it? Like, this is a time where some AI would be useful. Be like, anything negative about the TV show. That would actually be a way that AI could actually do it, but it's not implemented in the system, because AI isn't there to benefit us, it's there to benefit corporations, right? That if I could just flag conceptually negative statements about the Fallout TV show, and I know that some people are going to be like, oh, you're so fragile, you can't hear anything negative about the TV show. I don't want to hear anything negative about the TV show from the public. I can have a conversation with a real human being in real life, socializing like a real human being, about a negative opinion about the TV show, like an adult. This is not... Humanity doesn't deal with internet social interaction very well. Like, it's like these people who leave these negative thoughts about the comment of the TV show, and if I block them for that, their brain immediately goes to, I'm not allowed to have a negative thought about the TV show. Especially if we're dealing with, my, I am autistic and I am proud, but we have trouble grasping the context of the things we say. What we tend to do is be like, if it's true, then I'm allowed to say it. But who I'm saying it to and where I'm saying it, we don't really, we have to try to think about that. And so, just because I don't need to hear about negative thoughts about the TV show over and over and over again in my comments doesn't mean I can't hold space for negative thoughts about the TV show in general. Like if I was at Mojave Mayhem or Wasteland Jamboree and I'm talking to a person I don't know that well, just chit-chatting, and they're like, I didn't really care for the show because of this and that, I would not be like, you're blocked out of my existence. Like, that's a totally different situation. But as a content creator, I become this receptacle for people just dumping careless thoughts about anything true that's related to the content. And it's a lot, it's really dense, it's careless, it's dehumanizing, because a lot of the times people are saying things that they wouldn't say to me in person, because there would be kind of social pressures and instincts not to be rude, which is one of the reasons I like in-person events so much. Because at Mojave Mayhem and Wasteland Jamboree, you would think, like, Fallout fandom is kind of infamous, even among fandoms, for being, like, especially shitty on the internet. Like, Fallout, it's like Star Wars, basically, like, the more intense a fandom is, like, Star Wars, Star Trek, Marvel, like, Fallout is one of those fandoms, on the internet, where people are really shitty. If you only knew Fallout fans from going to the in-person events, you would have no idea. Like, there are lots of nerds from lots of other fandoms that go to these events, and it's like, this is the nicest fandom. I've been in a lot of fandoms before, and overall, Fallout fans are the nicest, smartest, most, from my perspective, they're the people I can vibe with the most. And all the people who are shitty on the internet in Fallout fandom don't go to those events. They don't go to those events. They stay home. So it kind of separates the, what's the expression? The cream from the chaff or something? I don't know what chaff means, but I feel like that's the expression that comes to mind. Are you still not feeling good? Should we set some boundaries or expectations, time-related perhaps? Yeah, I should probably quit by like 8. And I think the fact that I'm not going to switch to game is going to help with that. We're just going to chat. Like creators and their mods review rate, comment drop. This person left the same comment on their videos. Yeah. 76 fans seem to be really nice online, especially in game. Yes. And that's one of the things I say when I'm talking to fans who won't play 76. I'm like, that is a benefit. Like, and I don't really play a lot of online. I don't really play any online games other than 76, so I don't really have a point of contrast. But based on what I've heard, it's a totally different vibe. And I think the fact that the nuclear winter mode went away is sort of indicative of that, because nuclear winter was the PvP, but Fallout 76 fans are kind of more about building a new wasteland than they are. It's more constructive than destructive, sort of. 76 fans like to do stuff together. Wheat from the chaff? Is that the expression? What is chaff? I don't know what that means. Most of the time, I've had some people really get into a feral ghoul role, and they just kept stalking me, and even in console chat, they were role-playing and got upset I had no toxic goo. Like, was that funny or was that annoying? I feel like I could go either way. Oh, then I guess it's the wrong expression. It separates the shitty from the not shitty. What expression is good for that? I heard 176 group that actually delivers mail to other players. That's cute. What I would laugh really, really hard every time I see a King's cosplayer. Of course, there weren't really many on the East Coast, but if I see anybody who's a King, I'm just like, all I would want to do if I were you is run top speed. Just pick some random person in the crowd. Just target them and just run straight at them top speed. And then as soon as you get there, stop and go, hey, I heard you're the one that's been helping everyone around here. Have some caps. I think that is so crazy that the Kings do that to you without getting, like, they're just running up to people. I just want to be like Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just like, get bust you in the face. You're running at people top speed just to be nice. It is the right expression. Thank you, Ghoul the Brain Eater. I recognize you from something or somewhere. I think you had a cap that I have. Um, I feel like I've seen you multiple places. Yes, you had a cap with the QR code. I saw your link page. You have to be the same person. Yes, and you, yes, and also, don't you have a thing on your link page that has a reference to Always Sunny in Philadelphia and how he loves ghouls? I swear that was you, wasn't it? I didn't make that up. Uh, I love Always Sunny in Philadelphia and I talk about it all the time, so it made me very happy. What else do I have in my notes? 15 people, that's nice. And sometimes I'll get someone who gets impatient when I'm adding items to my vending machine. I ended up, I was such a hoarder with the vending machine because I was just like, I want to give back to the community and, I don't want to get rid of things that are useful to people, so, but, you know, the stupid limited, vendor thing, I was like, I need to give up on this. And I am still, nervous about playing video games with other people. I'm nervous about other people on the internet. This is a weird kind of thing about me, is I'm very atypical as an autistic person in this way, because I am a lot more comfortable with humans in real life than I am with socializing on the internet. I'm really overwhelmed by Discords. I'm really overwhelmed by online video games because I respond to, I guess, what I call the pool water. God, that's such an inside joke with myself. Nobody's gonna know what I mean by that. But okay, here's what the pool water is. So there's autistic people and there's people who aren't autistic. People who aren't autistic, people who are allistic, when they have a conversation with each other, it's like they're passing a beach ball across the surface of, like, pool water. So, like, the water just kind of guides the ball to the other person, and then the water guides the pool water back. So there's this ease, almost like you're doing water aerobics. There's this assist that helps not autistic people communicate with each other. But autistic people don't have pool water. So when somebody tries to glide us the ball of whatever they're trying to communicate to us, it just hits the floor. And we're irritated and we have to pick it up and hand it back. So from the perspective of an allistic person, the way we talk is really aggressive and direct. Because they're like, why aren't you gliding it across the water? Because we don't have fucking water. You know? So when we meet another autistic person, we'll just manually pass the ball back and forth and don't do this glide. And to us, that's easier because we're just saying what we mean and we're just handing the ball back and forth. But to an allistic who's used to the ball gliding across and gliding back, they see that putting the ball in your hand as being really like, whoa, you're like in my business. Why aren't you gliding it across the water? So it just so happens that I am an autistic person that has just gotten really used to pool water rules, like the way that another autistic person has gotten used to, like, video game rules. So I am actually sometimes overwhelmed by, you know, the direct handing of the ball, because Discords and online and all these online sort of social environments have rules. Like, if I post something in the wrong Discord chat, I could get in trouble or be like, or annoy people. A perfect example of this is, the autistic people who get mad at you for not looking at the fucking manual, you know, who are like, why are you asking me, or why are you bugging people about this thing when the place that you do that is this Discord chat? You talk about this in this Discord chat. So I am actually more likely to make autistic social mistakes in internet communities than I am to make allistic social mistakes in person. So when I'm in an in-person social environment, I can kind of maneuver like an holistic person and ask people and chit chat and blah blah blah. But in Discords, I will put things in the wrong place and ask questions that are awkward because I'm not in the right chat. And there's so many chats and there's so many rules and there's so many things. It's so easy to mess up. And so when I play 76, like, I would like go online to be like, okay, what's considered rude in 76? Because I don't have any instincts or understanding. And so I keep saying, and I've been saying for years, that I want to play 76 with other people, but I need like a crew or something that I can hang with who can sort of run interference. So, and frankly, this is also why I'm historically in so many abusive relationships and friendships, because I let people do social heavy lifting that I don't trust myself to be able to do well. Atlas is stoked to be that guy for me, though. I'm like, Atlas is excellent with people. So I'm just like, I'm with that guy. But my name on in 76, I keep meaning to change it, but I'm probably never going to, so I'll just put it in chat. Lindsay Makes Videos is my handle, because that was my name for everything back in the day. But now everything I have associated with that name, I'm sort of trying to shut down if I haven't shut it down already, because that was the name I used when I was doing autism personal development stuff, and I was, my personality was still a trauma response. Beach balls glide around the surface on the pool. If we work together, we can hold them steady, so talking is easier. I mean, I like the pool water metaphor because instead of it being framed that autistic people have a harder time, it frames it that allistic people have an easier time. And that is what it's like from our perspective. We don't feel like there's something wrong with us. We feel like they have a cheat code. And I've also, in my norm video, I described it like allistic people have fast travel. And we walk from location to location. And we don't really want fast travel because we see things of value when we're on these journeys. And we really just wish that allistic people who are fast traveling everywhere would slow down and like listen to us about the stuff that we saw on the way. And of course, but that went over my head. What, the beach ball thing went over your head? When you take things from corpses and nearby corpses, does it? There's actually, I have a video on one of my other accounts where I describe the pool water thing, but I don't know what I'm gonna do with my personal development work right now. It's tough because I was writing some really useful things, and I really wanted to help people, and I could have helped people. It's such a cliche to say, but a lot of people don't want to be helped. The thing is, a lot of people who are wounded just really want coddling, and there's space for that, but a lot of trauma healing is work. And if you tell people they have to do work, then they don't like you so much. I like to tell people that I switched from personal development to Fallout videos because instead of personal development, I decided to develop personally. I basically took the stuff that I was trying to teach people that they weren't listening to and applied it to my own life and made my own life better. Proof is in the pudding. I'm not on Xbox, I'm on PC. Yes, that actually is true. You can't, like, that was explained to me that you can't take somebody else's loot. You can take somebody else's kill, though. So that is something to keep in mind. Like, you don't get the perks if you didn't get a shot in. So when people come in and they just decimate all the bad guys in the event, and you didn't get a shot in because the other people just hogged all the kills, that is something. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong about that. So if you go into an event and like you're level 50 and everybody else there is like level 500, you might want to just pass. the chain lightning gun to tag everyone. See, this is the thing, something that I really like about 76 is there's so much. You can't get bored. There's always something new to learn. There's always something new to look at. And the fact that people are like, there's not enough content, I'm like, what more do you want? Like, I just, I've never played any other online game that gives you so much to do. In fact, I think they're a little out of control with the amount of currencies. Like, do we really need, like, I don't know what I can do. Like, I know what I can do with caps. I know what I can do with atoms. I know what I can do with gold bullion. And I know, what I can do with tickets are the ones for, like, the scoreboard, right? By the time we get to stamps, what the fuck are stamps for? I don't, like, it's 5 different currencies. It's a little bonkers. I'm stuck with the raids. I either can't fight it alone or the group kicks me out. Why does everything have to be so complicated? Can't we all share? Yeah, but like, what do you... So Giuseppe in White Springs. So is he the one in the... One of the few rooms in the White Springs that's not lame? Where is Giuseppe? I love this one gun. But like, what is something that I want? Like, I really wanted, Oh, right, so there's certain things with gold bullion. I haven't, like, used any of my gold bullion because everything that I want is is too expensive. And so I keep, like, doing stupid errands for the Foundation and the Raiders, trying to get more gold bullion. And they're really tedious quests that aren't fun. But I don't want to spend any of my gold bullion because I'm trying to raise enough to get things that I actually want. Are there other ways to get gold bullion other than just doing the stupid radiating quests for Foundation and what's her name in the crater? Like, I know sometimes I'll do, like, other stuff, like other events and quests, and I'll happen to get gold bullion. But what if I'm, like, targeting trying to get more gold bullion? It feels like that was sort of set up for Wastelanders, but now there's, like, so many other things going on. Upstairs in the refuge. He has similar stuff as the bullion. You know what I really, really need? If somebody has this, can we please make arrangements? I need plans for, simple garden plot. I need that shit. Because I think you're supposed to get it from some quest I haven't done yet. And it is such a basic item if you're trying, because most of the places to build camps just are on uneven ground, and my autism hates it, and I really just want to have like a flat farm. And I can't because I don't have this very simple garden plot. I also don't have a decontamination arch. But now that I'm a ghoul, I guess that doesn't matter. No way. If the garden plot was available for me to purchase in a specific place, I would have found it by now. I swear to God. Unless it's like is it a gold bullion thing? Build off of a billboard. I remember when the sheep squatch was the event to farm, I'd get on top of the sheep squatch. It tickles me a lot. I remember one time, it was during the Steel Rain, there's a sheep squatch fight. And I guess it was kind of bugged out because what's her name from the Brotherhood of Steel was like useless. And it was like following me around and not helping me fight. And I got like so close to beating the sheep squatch, and then something happened and I died. And I was so mad because it's an online game, so I used all these stim packs and they were used. And then I had to do it again, and I was like so mad. I was like, I don't even want to go back and open this fight again. Because I really like hit my stride with the fight. And then I got cocky and sloppy toward the end for some reason. Farmable dirt tiles and 76 are purchased from Samuel. Maybe that's what 500 gold bullion requiring a. Maybe it's because I don't have a friendly reputation with settlers. That's exactly it. So the only way to like get the friendly reputation, maybe that's the real question, isn't to get more gold bullion. Is how do I get a higher reputation with settlers without doing these annoying quests? Because it seems like it feels like I could do them every day, and my settler reputation doesn't go up. The sheep squatch really is all of them are except for the beast of Beckley. Yeah, I think that the creators of the game have been really having a nice time with that. I should I should make an effort to cuz traveling vendors I feel like come by camps a lot more often now. That's good to know. So those particular events, I like being friends with nerds. Even though I'm feeling pretty much okay, I am a wee bit concerned about losing my voice. So, y'all, should I just start a Discord? Uh, would y'all join it? Would y'all join it if I started a Discord? The reason being is because I feel like this comes up a lot that I want to like tell you guys about something that we talked about in chat. And there's also not what is the word that I'm looking for? But would people help? I'm not good at I could totally make it and set it up. If I'm doing this, then I would like take it seriously and manage it and make the chats. The thing is, it might not be a Lindsay's Fallout Discord. It would probably be a Zamdanga Discord. Because if I expand and start doing, personal development and that kind of stuff again, I wouldn't want to make another Discord. So I'd probably just call it Zamdanga. I used to have a Discord that I called Lindsay's Echo Chamber, which was a really cool name for a Discord. Um, I could. Like if it started to become clear that there were certain people that but Lindsay's Echo Chamber ended up going really, really badly. And so I want to make sure that I'm ready for this responsibility. But there's Fallout fandom is so Discord heavy that I want to figure out how to make Discord work for me because it's so much better than every other kind of social media. Yeah, I haven't heard a single story about anybody being age verified. It's kind of sus, to be honest. Everyone was talking about that. And then it just didn't happen. I would absolutely join a Feral Cool Discord. Or maybe I could just make it just for this channel. Ugh. But I didn't even change it to. Yeah, I guess maybe the Discord would be called Feral Cools. Because I don't know how long this channel's gonna be called. I hate indecision. It hurt their stocks or something. Yeah. I tried it, like, you know how, like, when I'm building my settlements, I'm always trying to build for expansion because I basically want to build the settlements and however I have the bedrooms set up or the sleeping space so that when more people come to the settlement, I can easily expand it. That's also kind of what I'm thinking about. Polls. You know, there's some stuff that polls are appropriate for, but this is really about my kind of planned trajectory for my content. So it's not really like about what people want me to do. It's more about like what makes sense to do knowing the direction that I'm going. So it's something that I have to freaking figure out in my own head. The settlement. And if it's going to be connected to Zamdanga, or is Zamdanga even going to be anything that has a Discord? And maybe not. You know, maybe not. I mean, I kind of talked about this in my airport vlog that I'm trying to meet a social need with this, and my other projects I'm not expecting to be as social. Like, one of the reasons why I left personal development is because I didn't want to hang out in Discords with those people. Um, I wish those people well, but I don't really want to hang out with them. um, the Feral Cool Bar! Oh my god. I think it was actually Atlas that found the sign at the bar at Wasteland Jamboree that just said welcome to bar without a pronoun, without the bar or a bar. And so that's why I took a picture of me pointing at that because I was like, ah, bar. Well, I guess I'm gonna go back to my list for because now that I kind of feel that I hate this because I actually don't really feel that sick, but my voice isn't gonna make it, so I have to make sure that I'm um talking about all the stuff that I want to talk about. But this is so fun. I love it when there's this many people chatting. I'm really happy to see you all. This is you all know how much I love doing this and how much I love all of you. I'm glad Bethesda isn't like Game Workshop or they would be shutting you down. Yeah, I feel like Bethesda has been pretty like they have to deal with oh, are you talking about like the products? The Atlas Omnicorp products? There are certain rules. Oh, that reminds me. I should talk to Atlas about that because we were going to put a Nuka logo on something and I don't think we can do that. I need to look up what there because there are certain like certain lines we can't cross. Um but we are walking right up to it. 76 prefix and suffix to the yeah, somebody put like a prefix suffix label on Atlas's outfit and he didn't get it and I was like, this is a 76 joke. He's never gonna play that game, which is crazy to me because he lives in the region. Like, he doesn't live in West Virginia, he lives in Ohio though. Like, we actually stopped in Athens. um and I'm like, if my favorite franchise had a game that took place where I lived, I wouldn't be able to help myself. But he probably just doesn't talk to me that much about why he doesn't want to play 76 because he knows that I play it, and maybe he doesn't want. But he's being polite. Um, no holds bar. Oh, the dolphin Nuka girl thing is pretty funny. Um, okay, what else did I want to talk about? There were a couple more thoughts about the troll thing that didn't make it into that troll video, or that I didn't think about at the time, that I kind of wish I had mentioned it. I was like, I'm gonna talk about them in stream, so I'm gonna talk about them now. So, the first thing was I talked about not wanting to, in the video I talked about not wanting to engage the trolls because, don't give them what they want. But I kind of bridged that quickly into the idea of if they just want to be seen, like a dick pic, it doesn't really matter if you engage or not. But something that I really wish that I talked about in that is there are a lot of people who not only do they want you to engage, like, when they say, like, stupid things, they get, like, sexual gratification from it. Like, a lot of these, and I'm wondering if some of these Fallout fans who, like, hate the TV show and hate woke people, because this is absolutely a thing with MAGA. Like, there are a lot, so you have, like, kind of woke intellectuals and pseudo-intellectuals, such as myself, preaching from our dinosaurs, using these $10 words, talking about all these, like, highbrow, socio-political, philosophical, things. And then you have, like, these sort of idiocracy trolls who say, like, these, bullshit things in comments, and what they're actually doing is they get off on being schooled by intellectual leftists. Like, it's a humiliation kink. And so then it's like, not only do you not want to engage those people intellectually because you're giving them attention and you're engaging them, but, like, there's something really even more degrading than that going on. And so they'll say stupid things on purpose because they want you to, and I think that that's also, like, something else that, I've talked about before, how I was, like, breaking down everything stupid about what somebody said, and I realized there might be, like, some sort of mental illness thing going on with that particular person, and that I didn't want to, humiliate them. But then, not only do you not want to humiliate people because it's mean, you might not want to humiliate people because it's not mean, So, I kind of wish that I'd talked about that as an explanation as to why I don't want to bother. Because that's, something that in my autistic brain, that as far as the pursuit of making the trolling comments more entertaining for myself, is I sometimes see people's stupidity as a puzzle that I want to solve. So I look at what they think about the issue, and then my brain wants to solve the puzzle of what's between them and me and what they don't understand in the middle. And realizing how many people are trying to get me to do that because they, like, get off on it, it kind of sends a chill down your spine, which I'm so antagonistic toward their fans creating anything, it goes into anti-logic. Yeah. Oh yeah, we had a puppy over there. I kind of, yeah, she might have to go out in a little bit because I took her outside a little earlier than I normally would. Then the Starfield name of my hometown came up as one of the shops. I really have no idea what the story is behind that. What's the name of your hometown? Yeah, I don't blame Bruva Alpha Bassa for shutting down their 40K stuff. I like that Games Workshop has, like, actual shops where you can actually, like, do community stuff. There used to be one, like, walking distance from my house in Glendale. Do we need to charge those trolls? Yeah! I actually just recently saw, like, a reel on, Instagram. That's what kind of reminded me of this, and I bookmarked it, where, like, it was a dominatrix that's like, don't engage these people for free. Doggo's name is Peg. Peg the pug. Laredo. Like Laredo in Texas? On the border? Or is there another Laredo? Cool. I used to have a friend of mine who lived in Laredo. Um, Lived in a trailer in Laredo and never had trouble with money. And we had this sort of joke conspiracy being like, is she running drugs across the border? Like, why does she have this, like, very humble seeming life in a trailer in Laredo, but can, like, fly to any concert and buy anything? Like, what's happening? Pittsburgh will be the closest to my city. I was born in Pittsburgh. And in Pittsburgh, I was pretty excited about the pit because I was born in Pittsburgh. Yes, there is a song about like the what is it called? The streets of Laredo? Is that it? Um um yes. So all right, so that was the one thing about the trolls thing that I wanted to talk about. And the other thing I could really kick myself for not talking about is I was really excited in that trolls video to talk about the warp, perspective warp of from the content creator's perspective, the crowd has more power, but for the perspective of every individual in the crowd, the content creator has more power. There's another distortion like that I also wanted to talk about for a really long time, and I really wish, because you know how at the beginning of that video I was like, this is the kind of thing I'd normally talk about on stream, but this feels like a really like self-contained story, so it felt like content. This is another thing like that, where another concept like that I feel like, I really wish I had talked about it in that video. And that is, there is I think a social problem in the masses that is YouTube commenters, where people don't seem to have a good sense of the difference between leaving a comment and posting a video. This goes back to like the thing, it's probably a lot of autistic people and how we have trouble with like the context. We're just like, if it's true and if I really think it, that I should be able to say it, and if I'm not allowed to say it, then it's censorship and I'm being silenced. But sometimes it's not that you're not allowed to say or think that thing, it's that it is rude to say that thing in this context, right? And like, let's say you watched my video about the surface is the experiment, and you think that that is a really stupid idea and that people shouldn't be talking about that topic on YouTube, okay? And let's say your options are, leave me a fucking essay telling me that in the comments, or making your own video talking about that, okay? So you can easily make your own video talking about your frustrations with the way content creators talk about the TV show and put it online, and nobody will stop you. You will not be silenced. You will not be breaking YouTube's terms of service, and what you have to say will be out there to meet the ears of the people chosen by the almighty algorithm to be the appropriate audience to hear that thought that you shared, right? But if you put that essay in my comments, I have to see it. I don't have to read it. I can see it and then see the first couple seconds and go, screw that, and block you immediately. But it's still, like I pointed out in the video, a fly buzzing around my head. It is more invasive to leave a comment than to make a video. If you make a video, then you have like and this is one of the reasons I like YouTube better than TikTok or Instagram, because TikTok or Instagram, you're throwing content in people's faces. But on YouTube, you have to see a thumb and a title, and then you decide to opt in to watch that content or not. It is very consenty and voluntary, whether or not you're going to watch this thing. So whether or not the thumb and the title interested you enough that you want to see what's going on there, right? But a comment is like making a video basically means people can knock on the door. But leaving a comment is like bursting in the door. You know? And like, if you're like a public business and your door is open, then yes, people can just come in the door. But once you go in the door, there should still be a sense of respect that you're walking into somebody else's space. And commenters on the internet, oftentimes, don't have that social sense that you're walking into somebody's space. When you leave a comment, yes, it is a public business. Yes, the door is unlocked. Yes, you can walk in. But that doesn't mean that you can say or do whatever you want lest you are being silenced or suppressed. You know? But people all too often don't understand that. They don't understand the vulnerability of having a public-facing entity with a front door unlocked. They're inviting the public into, but it is still somebody else's space when you leave a comment. It is not your house. Yes, it feels like it's your house because you're on a computer in your underwear in your room. But like, I read. Even if I only read the first sentence and then decide to delete it, it still enters my consciousness. And the people who are the quote-unquote trolls, who say shitty, mean things in comments, understand that and get off on forcing me to look at it. You know, and it's kind of depressing that trolls and invasive, boundary-violating people understand that they are in somebody else's space more than a lot of well-meaning people do. Love is an open door. There is a vulnerability. And that's the thing that is extra obnoxious, like these people who write essays in the comments. That I, like, oh my god, you, like, make a video. If you have that much to say, make a video. And honestly, and this is another thing that the Discord would be good for. Because somebody who, like, writes an essay in my comments, if they instead made a video talking about what they talked about in that comment and sent me a link in the Discord, I would fucking watch it. I swear to God I would. Because I would respect the guts of opening yourself to the public like that, instead of just, like, invading me with all of that content, actually putting it out there. And actually, like, accepting the possible humiliation of putting something online and having nobody watch it or give a shit. I would reward those guts by watching that video. I have before. Somebody, I don't know if Midnight Whimsies is here, but sometimes she pops up. This is somebody that saw my video, had thoughts about it, and made her own video. And I shared it. It was great. You know? And so I, as a content creator who's putting myself out there and having that vulnerability, and when I see videos that piss me off, instead of invading somebody's comments, I make my own video and I put it out there. There is a feeling of a little twinge of sort of resentment or irritation that, like, I'm expected to drop what I'm doing and read your essay of your counter argument to what I said, when you, like, if what you're saying is so important, make your own fucking video. You know, nowadays, there is a lot of ways to do it. There are a lot of ways to do it. Hell, even if you can't, like, read or speak yourself, you could probably find, I mean, and if you're against using AI to do the voiceover, which a lot of people would be, and I understand that, you could probably have a friend read it for you. Put yourself out there. Don't crowd me with your counter arguments. Are YouTube comment moderators a thing? A helpful person to keep... but then that's human labor. You know, that's one of the resistance that I have to Discord as well, too, right? You know, like, you know, there's a downside for using robots for everything, but there's also a downside of using people and treating people like robots. But yeah, like if I could afford to pay a human being to read all my comments for me and only send me the stuff that is worth my time, you bet your ass I would do that. But I don't have resources for that. That's another thing that, like, that makes this position so vulnerable. It's just me. It's Lindsay's Fallout. It's one person. And there's limits to the amount of, to the feasibility of the tools that I have available to me. Devolving by being disrespectful and think before we act in some instances. There's a lot of small restaurants owned by locals. They've been around since forever. As long as they have a loyal customer, they should be around. Losing thinking before they act, yeah. That might be bullying, but it's a funny thought. We should all answer troll comments with something like, actually, insert... Yep, that's my plan. I really like that's a good point, but because it makes it sound like I'm almost sensitive to what they're saying for a second. Isn't Discord a lot more controllable than YouTube comment sections? Yes, but not in the ways that I'm talking about. I'm kind of anticipating that the benefit of Discord is that it's just not public facing. Like you can, like you have to be kind of invited in, and then you can like get rid of people. It feels more like a box. Then that's one of the reasons I like Discord. It's like a clubhouse. Sometimes it just doesn't feel like it. I wouldn't mind modding, but I'm sensitive and impulsive, and I'd probably ban any slight I perceive. I mean, I kind of do that. I mean, I have, like, I mean, this is what the house rules thing in the description is really all about. Is, I have a, my own criteria that I'm entitled to as to what makes me ban people. And it is broad compared to, like, YouTube as a whole. But because, like I said, it's like I'm like a public-facing business and I have the right to set boundaries of what I will or won't accept and why, it's kind of a courtesy that I even provide that list. Because it isn't just people who are rude or people who are hostile or racist or homophobic. What it is more often than not is if I get cues from the message, if I get cues from the comment that they either don't understand what I'm saying or don't want to understand it. Like, if somebody clearly doesn't understand what I'm saying and they don't ask questions, they just sort of assume and respond to their false interpretation of what I said, they're out. And honestly, you guys, and this might be just me being autistic, and but like, I am regularly shocked and appalled by how rarely people ask questions. Like, when they hear me say something and they misinterpret it as something way more toxic than what I meant, instead of asking like, hey, it kind of sounded like you were saying this, can you clarify? Like, the total lack of benefit of the doubt. Like, if people have a pessimistic interpretation of what I said, they do not question their interpretation at all. Ever. Like you would think sometimes, like if you had any, and that's one of the reasons why in my house policy thing, I put like, I dare you to trust me, and I talk about benefit of the doubt in that, because if people think that I said something like, people misunderstand me and misinterpret me to say something toxic all the time, and the thought doesn't even cross their minds. They trust their false interpretation more than they trust me. Or more than, like, and that's so depressing. Like, I remember being younger and more of a humble person, and when I heard something, Or if I'm like with a friend, or if I'm like out even at like Wasteland Jamboree or something, and somebody says something that sounds kind of offensive, like it is an instinct for me to go, wait, did I hear that right? Did you really say that? Because it kind of sounded, oh, that's what you meant. And then a clarification happens. But on the internet, it is shocking how that doesn't happen. Like, you would think sometimes people would be like, wait, are you saying this? Never. Never. Like, is that startling to anybody else but me? Like, they hear it in a negative way and don't even consider the possibility that I didn't mean what they thought I meant. Ever? And so when I see a willful misinterpretation with no curiosity toward clarification, out. Out. Because I can't make you curious. I can't make somebody curious. I mean, I can stimulate their dopamine, kind of make them curious, but I can't make them value curiosity. I can't make somebody value curiosity. That's a value. That's another person's business. And if you hear something that you don't like, and your first reaction is to bark and not to go, huh? Like, I don't care what the reasoning is. It could be trauma. A lot of the times it is. But something that I have kind of, that the being involved in personal development has sort of beaten out of me is that I do not have to respect somebody's reasons for not respecting me. That took me way too long to learn, because I was so afraid as a neurodivergent person of not having my trauma and my triggers respected that I felt like this moral duty that, like, if I want people to make space for my issues, then I need to make space for other people's issues. But it's not even really an exaggeration to say that I have, like, destroyed my life or been incredibly destructive toward my own life, making room for somebody's need to lie to me, making room for somebody's need to hide things from me, making room for somebody's need to have pessimistic, shitty interpretations. Like, somebody's like pessimistic and shitty toward me, and then I go, hey, I don't deserve to be treated that way. And then they go, well, everyone in my whole life has treated me shitty, so, you know, how can you expect me to not have bad expectations of you? Not my problem. If you have bad expectations of me, then I don't want you around. You know? Like, if you are at a place, and this is also why I'm single, by the way, if you don't, love is an open door. If your door is closed to me, then my door is closed to you. You know, like I said in that video, love doesn't have to be earned, it has to be opted into. So, if you are not opted in, then neither am I. And that is a huge problem with being a content creator on the internet, is that, like, the audience always expects me to be more forgiving of them than they are of me. And I don't think that's right. Tone tags are very helpful. It kind of puts a smile on my face when I see a tone tag in comments. I think most of the time I'm good enough at the pool water that I can kind of tell. But it is helpful. Oh my god, I have that happen all the time. It's like, instead of assuming because I didn't include it, ask. And, you know, and then there's a certain extent where people would be like, well, how would I even know to ask? Because I thought I interpreted it correctly. Here's an easy rule of thumb. If your interpretation was fear or negativity, then ask. That's it. That is the thing that should motivate you to ask. Like, if your interpretation is positive, you know, then you can just leave it alone because you feel good and you're having a nice time, whatever. But if your defenses go up, then how about you be sure that you understood what happened before you put those defenses up? Because as soon as you put those defenses up, you're opting out of love. You're opting out of connection. And maybe you're opting out of love and connection for no reason. You don't know until you ask. And this is why I make Fallout content and I don't make personal development content anymore. Because, big shocker, personal development is full of people who are traumatized, who have their walls up. So the very people that I was trying to help and reach constantly treated me with suspicion all the time, sometimes to cartoonish extremes. Especially being a masculine woman. That was a huge fucking problem. I actually just recently kind of took a big step and did like this kind of trauma healing circle with a bunch of women. And that was kind of a big step for me because I'm, had so many bad experiences with women. And I just really wanted to be welcomed by other women. And luckily, especially in this crowd, in the chat crowd for this channel, there's a much stronger female. Like, I feel like maybe a little less than half of you are female. It's kind of hard to tell in chat because, obviously not everybody has their genders, but the female representation in chat, I think, is higher than the channel as a whole. But as a general rule, I get along better. The demographic that I tend to vibe with the best are emotionally attuned males. Like, and when women think that such guys don't exist, well, they're all my friends. So I can find all the nice guys, the real ones, because I'm hanging out with them. Like, it's so funny, like hanging out with a bunch of, like, women in personal development. They just were like, men are the devil. Like, even if they wouldn't say that, there was this kind of subtext of, we're the emotionally attuned ones, and we hang out with each other because men are. And I think a lot of it is because their association with men were, like, their shitty exes or something. I don't know. Meanwhile, I hang out with nice guys who are very rarely, if ever, in relationships because they're not manipulating women's dopamine levels to get relationships. But hanging out with women, we never... Okay, when I was hanging out with predominantly women in that kind of social environment, we never hugged. We never said, I love you. It was all very professional, sort of masked girl boss energy, I guess. And I just learned to sort of not expect emotional attunement. And I didn't understand then what I understand now is that women, at least the ones that I was hanging out with, were protecting themselves from my masculine energy. Like, they were like, I don't soften for Lindsay because Lindsay is a threat. And none of this was overtly said, right? But when I started hanging out with emotionally attuned men, they don't see me as a threat at all because I'm a woman and they're also masculine, so they're not threatened by masculine energy. And me and my male friends hug. We say, I love you, no hetero to each other. That's like an inside joke now with like all my male friends because, still being a woman, I kind of have like this guard up about not wanting to give men the wrong idea. Even Beckett in 76. But like, because they don't see me as a threat, there aren't the defenses. So I have way more emotionally rich relationships with my male friends than I ever did with other females. And that's something I would never have expected until, because wisdom comes from contrast. And now that I have friends, male friends, that are emotionally engaged, it really shines a spotlight to the way that women respond to me and how scary and dry it is. Like, I've talked before about how I, was so heavily gaslit that I thought that I was a narcissist. That was my brain trying to make sense of how my female friends responded to me. Because I knew that I deserved to be treated better than I was, but I didn't understand why I wasn't getting what I felt. And because I was expecting so much more than I was getting, I thought I had entitlement issues. But now that I have friends that aren't afraid of me and don't have a wall up all the time, I realize, oh my God, my personality was a trauma response, and everybody that I knew was just also just walking trauma responses. I'm actually not hard to love, and I actually do hug, and I actually am very affectionate and loving. Um, Atlas is like a teddy bear. And, you know, my friends here, y'all, my friend, like one of my best friends, like my two best friends here in Portland, one of them, my flight came in late from Portland, from Wasteland Jamboree. My flight came in late. And so I didn't get into town until like midnight, which is a big problem because I don't have a car and public transportation in the middle of the night is basically not a thing. A buddy of mine who also doesn't have a car came to the airport after I was only gone for a weekend. He came to the airport to greet me. Just to greet me. Not to give me a ride, he doesn't have a car. Just to greet me and go on the journey of public transportation and Lyft that I needed to go on to get home. Just to be there for me when I got home. Okay? To put that in contrast, the person that I thought was my best friend in the personal development space didn't even come to greet me when I moved halfway across the country to be closer to her. And she also told me that my first month of rent was going to be paid, and that was a total lie, and then she gaslit me when I confronted her about it, and I had to get a client to pay me ahead of time just to be able to pay rent. Like, my standards for how I expected my friends to treat me was so low. The world of personal development, neurodivergent trauma healing, I had the worst friends. And I was treated like such garbage that the only way I could justify it in my head was that I must have narcissistic personality disorder. Turns out I just had a bad case of dignity. I look back and I thought these people were my best friends, and now that I have real friends, it's just absolutely shocking how, and you know, I could go on and on. There are more stories. I took all the blame. I'm too scary. I'm too aggressive. But all of it was just my nervous system responding to being treated like shit. Remind yourself that everyone is on a different stage of their journey, experience, knowledge, trauma, side. Yep. I guess most people just assume the worst of every comment we don't immediately like. I am sus, but that's because I have a hard time reading people, so most people don't ask for fear of looking stupid. Well, they look even dumber when they make assumptions, powerfully declared assumptions. Like, I would think if you're afraid of looking stupid that you wouldn't say anything at all. I'm a female, but I'm not a woman. Haha! A lot of women in healing circles have come out of patriarchal religion. But I filed down my horns every day. Haha! That is true. What do you think of the movie What Women Want? Oh my god, I can't believe you brought that up. I want to come back to For Horns to a Halo. I struggle the most with girlfriends than guy friends in my early 20s and still. Too easy. Okay. Paranoia and fear are as strong as hate. Which at most times is really scary at times in some moments when socializing. Also, Atlas sounds like a good friend. He is. Oh my god. I have been, I don't even know how much I deserve Atlas sometimes. Preach, but not in a preachy context. You're an awesome person. I'm an awesome person? Is that what you're responding to? That's why, there's an ass in assumptions. I identify more with demigirl gender. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, I think if non-binary is a technical term, then I guess I'm non-binary, but it's not a technical term. But I don't like it non-binary because I don't like identifying myself based on what I'm not. I want to be, I think I've said this before. Can I be double binary? Because that's really how I feel. Can I be double binary? Because I do conceptualize masculine and feminine as distinct things. There is, I think of masculine and feminine like how I've talked about hot and cold. Like, hot, when you, like, okay, so, and this is just my conceptualization, so I know people get really, weird about gender. So you are entitled to however it is. I'm just telling you how my brain sees gender. So hot and cold, right? So if you put your hand in hot water, you know it's hot the second you touch it. You put your hand in cold water, you know it's cold the second that you touch it, right? But that doesn't change the fact that the space between the two is not a line, it's a continuum, right? It's a continuum. And once you start sticking your hand in the middle, different people are going to say, okay, this is hot water, this is cold water, this is warm, this is cool. And the number one way to make that point is if you have ever taken a shower with another human being. Take a shower with another human being and try to pick the temperature that is warm to both of you. Have fun, right? It really, really shines a spotlight on how once you get in the middle, it's not so obvious. Super hot, it's obvious. Super cold, it's obvious. But in the middle, everyone is going to have a different subjective idea of whether it's cool water or warm water and where that threshold is. Okay? So, for example, me being a lesbian, I am attracted to female femininity. That means that I am only aroused or romantically inspired by people who are on the side of that threshold that my brain registers as feminine female, right? Where that line is for another lesbian might be completely different. But I have a line of once somebody is a little bit too far into the masculine side of their presentation, I'm not going to generate those kinds of feelings. So if anybody has ever wondered how a lesbian could possibly not be bigoted, which a lot of really like these autistic, rigid gender people tend to be, they're like, if you're ruling out all men, then you're like a man-hating, like bigoted, blah, 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 because they're like, where do you draw the line? I draw the line where I draw the line. It's just like, basically my brain goes, this is a sex person, this is not a sex person. I have a similar line about age, you know? Like there's some women that just start to look, too young, gross, you know? But it's not like a line at this exact point, you know, of age or how many days that they have, you know, lived on the planet Earth. It's my brain looks at them and honestly, it tends to be, the older I get, the younger young girls start to look. Like it's actually now to the point that like 27, 28 looks like a baby, you know, like, but the point is that just because I have a line somewhere doesn't mean that line is defined by how society defines what a man is or what a woman is. I just know that if a person doesn't have a certain amount of femininity, their physical presentation, anything that is less feminine than that is just not going to motivate me in that way. Many people seem to go anger and hate because of fear. Yeah. Leads to suffering. Embarrassed, but it's funny how long it took me to understand what NBs meant. I thought it was just a made-up word to make a gender. Thank you for verbalizing the extra confusion of the lesbian attraction spectrum, because that is more confusing than men from a demi-bi-pan whatever. Yeah, I mean, I think that it is important because I think that lesbians trigger some really intensely negative emotions in a lot of people. Just like our very existence. It's very weird. And what's really sad is it's from both sides, you know, like the super, you know, woke people are like, you're bigoted if you're ruling out an entire gender. Like something I'm really sick of hearing is I don't care about the parts that they have or what gender they are. I'm just attracted to people. Like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's something about like the wording of that and the way it describes is that there's something bigoted or exclusionary about being gay or straight. Like it used to be like, yeah, like we should all accept whatever people's sexuality are, unless, you know, if you have a sexuality that excludes any kind of person, that you're like unenlightened in some way. It's like sometimes I want to say that like I wish I was a 90s lesbian, or I think of myself as a 90s lesbian. You know, because like um you know, with the beginning of the gender sexual revolution, it was like, yeah, we're going to accept lesbians now, but now that like you're supposed to accept everybody and be omnidirectional all the time, then all of a sudden I went from being it's okay to be gay to, well, you're excluding an entire gender, so you're now you're not accepted, now you're bigoted. I'm like, wait, I just got here. I like I've only been out for like 5 years, so like where's my acceptance? Because for me, the coming out was accepting that I'm not attracted to men. I thought I was pansexual before. So, like, for me, the big confession, the big, what I call the big gay reveal, was accepting that I was never gonna marry a man. That wasn't a thing that was on the menu for me. And instead of stepping into this world of acceptance, I stepped into this world of, oh, apparently I'm bigoted now. Not fair! I have no problem with the self-identity spectrum, I just need a Sherpa to help me avoid the mud pits. I'm just going to pat myself on the back for making my last comment fit exactly in the character allowance and remain queer. Not good for you. I identify as bi, but I rule out plenty of people. Yeah, mainly on a different, Jack Harkness rules of attraction. 'Tis a meme that can be looked up, but yeah, more specific depending on both parties, if that makes any sense. Now explain the Vicky Mendoza diagonal. JK, don't really. I think I was making How I Met Your Mother reference. Help me, Sherpa man! Just like art, taste, and music, and every other like and dislike, it's very much subjective. So tired of people trying to make others fit into their own worldview instead of letting them have their own. Honestly, yeah, honestly, that kind of goes back to sort of the big theme of tonight's presentation, isn't it? Every comment, like when you're a content creator and you're looking at like the masses of all the comments and all the people, it is exhausting how many individuals in that mass think that everything would be fine if everyone just agreed with them. And they're bringing attention to that in my comments instead of just making their own channel. Like, this kind of goes into the, like, instead of coming into my turf with your independent worldview, just see if you vibe with what's going on in this turf. And if you don't vibe with it, start your own or go elsewhere. Why would you, but a lot of people just think they're fucking heroes. You know? And that's, like, the problem that I have with, not all pansexual or bisexual people, doesn't sound like anybody here falls into that category, or, like, polyamorous people, is they think that, like, having any boundaries or, any definition at all about, I want this, but I don't want this. If there's anything in the don't want category for another person at all, that it's not inclusive. But there is a really big difference. We can't hold every individual to the standard of the entire culture. You know, like just because I don't date, marry, or sleep with somebody who is this level of masculine, doesn't mean I am not accepting or want to live in a society that is inclusive. In fact, I think I made a joke that, like, I'm not a lesbian because I hate men. I probably don't hate men because I'm a lesbian, and only a woman can ruin my life. Like I said, the majority of my best friends are men. So, obviously, I don't have issues with living among men. In fact, I really do think that to a certain extent, I get along better with men because there's no sexual tension with them. All poly people seem to go through a cheerleader phase. It's like being in CrossFit, right? Yeah, and I try to sort of keep that in perspective. Like, sometimes people are just so excited about being able to live their truth finally, and that's a beautiful thing. but I never thought, like, I have only ever wanted bisexual people or straight people to be understanding and accepting of the fact that I'm gay. I have never felt any urge to preach the gospel of turning a woman gay. I mean, sometimes kind of jokingly, like when women are complaining about men, I'd be like, there are options. But that totally depends on my relationship with that particular person that I could even make a joke like that. But like, there's no part of me that thinks that I am more enlightened. And that's the language that I think is really frustrating. And maybe a lot of polyamorous or pansexual people don't actually feel that way, but it like comes off that way. Especially when polyamorous people start talking like monogamy only exists because of patriarchy and resource allocation, and that poly is like a more natural human state. Because I promise, I am just as monogamous as I am gay. Like, it is... I'm so monogamous, I only play one video game franchise. Okay, Cyberpunk is kind of my side hoe, but some of us just really like focusing on one thing. Like, I played Fallout with a lot of different kinds of power armor, but once I had my Nuka Quantum X01, I just stayed there, and I have no other need to have any other power armor. Some of us are monogamous by nature, not just because society told us to. And as long as I have no problem with the way other people do their gender or their sexuality or their lifestyle, as long as they don't treat mine like it's inferior or unenlightened. Like, I promise, if like you could like do a scan of like what it's like inside my brain, you'd be like, oh, monogamous and gay for sure. Like, it's not... It is, like... I've done enough trauma healing at this point to know what elements are, like, trauma shit that I need to deal with. Like, I have disorganized attachment issues for sure. For sure. And I do think that it's a really big problem that a lot of people confuse their trauma responses with, their personality. Which I kind of commented on. I was like, my update on the Jungian quote of like, somebody's shadow, show me they're unconscious and they'll think it's fate. Like, there are a lot of people who, if they're unfamiliar with their nervous system and how their nervous system is responding to things, then they think a lot of their defense mechanisms are their personalities. I've been friends with a ton of lesbians for exactly the same reason. I live my life continuously trying to not rock any boats, yet still trying to find how not to, while also knowing I am not everyone's cup of tea. One of the most important life skills, I think, is to know what boats are worth rocking. And it's not hard, and I mean, and it's not easy, and you will fuck up along the way. I've been friends with a lot. I haven't had enough poly relationships to say I'm experienced. I think I'm poly-curious. Well, good for you. Have your adventure. Explore. And since I have all the love and motivation in the world for you to have a relationship that works for you. All I'm asking is is to be treated the same way. I think it is I really can't say this enough. I am so proud to be alive during a generation time in human history where people are free to explore new ways to connect with each other. I want to live in that world. I really, really do. What about a very feminine presenting trans woman? Any attraction there for me? Sometimes. I can't say never. It has happened. I mean, that's why I worded exactly the way that I did. It's like I have this line, and very rarely have I been attracted to a trans woman that I know of. That's another thing. Is like, who is like I sound like I'm seeing, but if the question is the concept of a trans woman, am I against that? I guess no. However, there are certain things that I just probably shouldn't talk about on stream to go into any more detail about that. But if I was gonna give just a black and white clear answer, I would say trans women are not excluded officially. Every time, like, that, I really like describing my sexuality in that very, um, flexible way. I'm so relieved to see you're streaming. I need to hear a friendly voice. You okay? You okay, Valkyrie Entertaining? Um, I'm glad somebody thinks my voice is friendly. I guess a lot of people think my voice is friendly, which is new, because earlier I was talking about how my social life people treated me so crappy. It's weird that I'm actually liked and how long I accepted otherwise. I loved and hated that phase only because I was better than others in my village at school, but couldn't take the bullying from not being in any of their cliques. On top of some people, including me, are monogamous because they can't handle the thought of their partner with someone else, and that's okay, but it's important to voice that outwardly. Yeah, that's probably something that I will admit, like I said, I respect anybody's, but this is something about like the poly community that really confuses me, because I thought that like what makes a person poly is that they don't experience jealousy, until I found out that like the number one topic in like poly forums and stuff is how do you deal with jealousy? How do you deal with jealousy? Because I mean, this is probably autistic friendly, and you know, I'm a monogamous person, so just not understanding somebody who does relationships different. I would think if I got jealous that would mean I'm not poly. But apparently a lot of people think they're poly even though they deal with jealousy. I don't know. Somebody who's poly would have to explain that to me. Um, each person has their own journey with that. It's not linear. No relationship, sexual interests are really linear. Yep. And you know what's funny is like, okay, the most famous like lesbian show is The L Word. And almost, it's funny, like after all these years, like almost every lesbian has watched the whole show because it's our show. And like, and it's all about like these lesbian characters, and I think there's like one or two of them that are bisexual, but like there's like a really like a stone butch character who like has this like spiel about sexuality being like not this hardline thing. And I think that really confuses people. They're like, well, if you're that gay and you're definitely not going to date any men ever, then how do you not? And it's probably because a lot of lesbians think of it the way I do, the way I just described it. And they just haven't described it that well, because that's what I do, is I describe abstractions. I think my poly is related to my ADHD. There is a strong correlation between poly and just alternative lifestyles in general and neurodivergence. Silent Hill is my silent shame. I actually have recently thought about how my abusive relationships are like my pyramid head from Silent Hill. Like basically these manifestations where I think I accepted a lot of shitty relationships because a part of me hated myself and believed that I deserved them. And I really had to come to a place where I felt like I didn't deserve to be treated like that. Poly is a lot of hard work, and I felt like working in customer service, not for everyone. Which is why I'm currently in a monogamous relationship, just burned out. Though I'm poly more in theory, dating is work. Yeah. I'm looking for security. I want a life partner, and I think there's words with being happy with anyone who wants to explore and be themselves from someone that sacrificed themselves for the wrong reasons I wish I had, and you only have one life. Yeah. Like, it's a trade-off. There's a pendulum swing. So there's, like, on one side, there is an element where you have to invest. Not just in relationships, but in whatever you do with your life. There are benefits to investing in anything, whether it's your business or your home or your relationships. And if you are too free and bouncing around all over the place, then you'll miss out on those benefits of really building a bond with something or someone. But then on the other side, you have to operate with a strong discernment. You have to know yourself really well to know what's healthy for you to invest in. And I think that a lot of us, especially in this culture, are so desperate to be chosen by something, anything, that basically we will invest in whatever has chosen us, and then we'll go, oh, well, this person or this thing chose me, and I'm so grateful to be chosen that I'm going to invest in that. But they're choosing it only based on wanting to be chosen and not running that against who you are and what you want. And so I think it's something to be really conscious about. Like, there's a lot of messaging on the internet kind of warning people away from swipe culture. Like, a lot of people aren't settling and investing in a relationship because there could always be something better. and they don't want to build that thing. But there are things that you lose if you don't, like, there's an emptiness to not being loved that you won't ever fill unless you love somebody or something else. So I think that while a lot of people really need the advice of, if you want to have healthy, rewarding relationships, you really need to repair after rupture and not just swipe to the next bigger, better thing. While there's other people like me who have, and it sounds like possibly Runa based on that, who have the opposite problem where they really need to learn how to stop investing in the wrong thing. Like, I was in this horrendous friendship-ish for 25 years. I used to really choose how much I valued relationships based on their longevity, based on the quantity of years and not the quality of those years. Because I thought, like, if somebody has stuck with me for that long, because I thought I was a piece of shit, right? I didn't value myself very much. So I thought that anybody who would choose me year after year must be somebody that I should invest more in. But you know what, y'all? Sometimes people choose you year after year because they can consistently exploit you. Sometimes people choose you year after year because they can depend on you to put up with all of their shit. And, it just wore me down. So I had to develop the skill to walk away. Like, I'm the person who's so monogamous that they got Nuka Quantum power armor and I never need any other power armor again. So I will love and commit and I will sit there. It's funny, like Atlas and I will have talks and, he kind of has more of that opposite. Like, he's afraid that I'm going to leave if he doesn't treat me well enough, that I'm going to not work. And I'm like, do you have any idea what you would have to do to me to make me leave? Do you have any idea, like, how much shit I will take? Like, honestly, like, way more, like, and this kind of goes along with earlier I was talking about, blocking people on, I have, like, in the house rules thing in my thing, like, there's certain lines, like, willfully not understanding what I'm saying. If you misunderstand me in a negative way and your instinct is to jump my shit instead of asking questions, like, I have those little lines because not that long ago I fired a client because this client was really rude to me, and then when I told the client how I felt about it, their response was, well, we have to have a professional relationship, so you need to put your feelings aside. I'm like, I wouldn't have ended the working relationship just because they were rude. I ended the working relationship because when I told them how I felt about what they said, there was no apologies and no remorse. That's a line. That's like, this is a person who, when they say we need to be professional and put our feelings aside, what they really mean is, I get to treat you however I want. And if you don't like it, then that's not a conversation. That was like a character reveal. And that's not a thing that I accept anymore. Like, if they'd been rude and then I said, hey, that rubbed me the wrong way, and then they apologized, then they would probably have to do that a few more times for me to draw the line. But if it's clear that they are not sorry when they hurt me, I only need one for that. Because now I've lived enough life to know, what are red flags and what's just like a hiccup. It's okay to be jealous, just don't act on it. Let it float like a big log floating in a river. I'm uploading dashcam footage to my editing software right now from a traumatic incident. Oh my god. I'm sorry. What happened? Do I even want to ask? I guess the whole world's gonna know soon. Your voice is very mature yet balanced when speaking. Thank you. It's always interesting what people have to say about my voice. I saw a video, a reel of somebody else who's like, like an articulate autistic person, and got a lot of crap for the way that they talked. And then they started talking on the internet and are hearing all the time that their voice is like soothing to people. And I sent that to Atlas because Atlas had said the same thing to me. This kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about like people made me so self-conscious about things because I was hanging out with the wrong people. I have been very, very heavily trained and brainwashed to believe that there is something wrong with the way that I speak. And then I started doing this channel in particular, and I hear all the time that people like the way that I speak. It was like the same exact experience that this person in the reel described. And I'm like, yeah, there's definitely something to this. Silent Hill is Dinz's Vice. Jealousy New Era for Jealousy by Meg Myers, and her music career also correlates to a bunch of threads in this stream. This is another thing that's going to be good if I have a Discord, is when people talk about media. Because, like, I'm, like, in the stream, so I'm not, like, writing down what you guys think, and then I don't think of it later. So the Discord will have, like, a media recommendations channel. For wanting the stability and know yourself, not sacrificing it just because I want. Being a widow is tough. Don't choose someone unless you're ready for what may come after your work becomes null. Also getting used to being called out if I can be a good, bad example. I don't know if this has been a lot of work for you, Roveruna, but I did notice that when I mentioned that you apologize all the time, I don't think you've apologized once. Is that like a lot of self-control? I hope I didn't put like a lot of pressure. I'm like, it's cool that I'm glad that you're not doing that anymore, but at the same time, I'm like, I hope that it's not because I made you feel so bad. I don't know. I'm not used to saying, hey, you do this a lot, and then like not seeing it at all after that. I hope that has been positive for you, not apologizing. Yeah, surprisingly, there are types of relationships. I went to a school that taught me in their line of work of how, when they meet their clients outside of the workplace, my long-term partner is bad at misreading limerence as true love. Oh my god. I'm gonna like make a note. I want to talk about that. Limerence. I'm gonna come back because that is, y'all, I shit you not. I feel like I have visceral, maybe I'm not coming back to it, maybe I'm talking about it now. I have visceral direct experience that limerence is not love. Because I shit you not. I have only ever experienced limerence toward men. And I am gay. And if that isn't evidence that limerence is about fear, I don't know what is. That was a huge shock. In fact, sometimes that, like, I thought, like, do I have some sort of weird blockage? Like, why don't I have these, like, obsessive crushes on women the way that I used to have them on men? Because at that point, I was really sure that I was gay. Like, that wasn't really debatable anymore. But like, I was really, really brainwashed to believe that my survival depended on getting a man to love me. For so many reasons. Because I was... I'm disabled. I have an invisible disability. I'm ADHD autistic, plus some other chronic illness thing that is currently still undiagnosed. POTS test was inconclusive, but I have something else going on. So I need to be taken care of to survive. That's another reason I thought I was a narcissist, is because I constantly needed more from people than people could give me. And, now I realize it's because I have fucking disabilities. You know, I need help that is very real. And, so I really, I couldn't take care of myself. And I really just had it in my head that I had to marry a successful, privileged, cishet man because my very survival and functioning in the world depended on it. So I would have these really powerful feelings and obsessions with men and try to get them to pay attention to me. And then it literally took, like, me actually being in a relationship with the perfect man. You know, like they joke, like, the what man turned you gay? The perfect one. Dude, this guy, he was great looking. He was brilliant. Looking back, he was pretty clearly on the spectrum. And he, his favorite things in the world were my 3 favorite things in the world. Star Trek, musicals, and Fallout. Those 3 posters over there on the left side of my door were given to me by that guy. And I still didn't know I was gay yet when I broke up with him. And I didn't know why I was breaking up with him. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Like, and because the way that I feel about women is real, like human connection with another human, real thing, and it isn't about my fear or my survival, it's about because it's about love and not about fear, limerent feelings don't happen. I don't get clingy or obsessive or like antsy and anxious about women. That like I feel like that's a really important lesson. Like that I really like wish I want to transmit to other people. That feeling, that limerent feeling, is not what love feels like. It is what fear feels like. And I think that 9 out of 10 therapists will tell you the same thing. Okay, I need to BRB. I've gone a long time without taking a break, especially for being sick, and I should probably, like, stretch and blah blah blah, and I'll come back and I'll stay till 8:30. That is how late I will stay. Okay, I will be right back. Doop de doop, change the scene. And I'm back. I think somebody earlier was like, is Lucy and Maximus's relationship real? I have no reason not to believe. Oh, it's doing that annoying thing. I have no reason not to believe that Maximus and Lucy's relationship isn't real. Looks real to me. And also, trauma bonds are always technically an abuser and an abusee. Basically, like I always go back to that lyric from Eurythmics. Some of them want to use you, some of them want to be used by you, some of them want to abuse you, some of them want to be abused. Thank you, Toxic Trev. It's so nice to see you. But I don't think that there is a power differential between Lucy and Maximus. I loved it, and I can't say, I mean, honestly, I think the staff of the Days Inn was really unprepared for us, especially in the VIP restaurant room. Oh my god, their juice machine didn't even work. And like the signs would be like, wait for a waiter to come to your table, but nobody ever came, but they didn't want us ordering things at the bar either. The bar restaurant is the only complaint that I have about that place, but the location was awesome. The patio was fucking awesome. Of the Days Inn. I just wanted to sit out there. Like when Atlas and I were done and kind of breaking down the day, we like sat at the empty fire pit on the patio behind the Days Inn. And if you keep an eye on the Atlas Omnicorp YouTube channel, I'll be posting more footage, but you'll see like I just wanted to live there. It's just beautiful. And I really bar and I really like, as silly as it is, the campground connected to a hotel, which seems ridiculous because like if you're going camping and then there's a hotel, but it's kind of nice that you have that option to do like the camping thing, but if you're really uncomfortable, there's a hotel right up the hill. Like I really liked that location. With the swings, Toxic Trev, exactly. Lived here all my life, never really wanted to leave the state. I don't blame you. It was beautiful and the weather was nice. And for someplace outside with nice weather, incredibly lacking in bugs. I don't recall having any bug issues at all, which I don't even understand how that's possible. How do you have nice outdoorsy weather with no bugs? How? I don't understand. I was camping the whole time. Oh, really? You were camping? So were you up on like the top of that hill? Because just for y'all who weren't there, the cool kids that weren't there. So there's basically the hotel in the parking lot, and then down the hill behind there is where there was like if you went down the hill, that's where the vendors and the immersion zones were, and then up the hill there was like the camping grounds, which I only went up to for the VIP party at the end of the last night. I've never been to the US. It's, I keep watching random other vids of the event coverage to spot the wild Lindsay. It'd be really interesting if you happen to find me somewhere, because I was running around a lot of different places, so it actually would make sense for me to be in other people's videos. The first day I was wearing a bright pink shirt. The second day I was wearing a bright blue shirt. So, with my typical, sleeve cut off thing that I didn't have going on. In August, the bugs come out in full force, so it's still, like, not quite warm enough for the bugs to come out. Yeah, behind the Bracken Holler camps. Camping where I am is perfect, even though I'm up north for most of y'all. Camping at this time. Ponderous, I would wait at least a few years if you wanted to visit the US. We as a nation earn up. Yeah, it's not a... America sucks right now. I can't say I recommend the US lately. Haha. Sun's out, guns out. Yeah, I, just... I feel like my sense of style comes completely from my autistic need to be comfortable, and it all comes together in this cool look. If you ever get a chance to return, you should go camping on the Tigart River. You can float. Hopefully, I mean, I guess there's Power Armor Festival in April. In April next year. I'm assuming that Trev will be there because he's the Power Armor legend. I don't. Are there any Power Armor cosplayers more famous than you? If there are, I don't know who they are. You definitely had the best one. Guys, earlier I was talking about the Nuka Quantum armor and how I'm like monogamous with it. And once I had that armor, I just don't need any other armor. And that is what Toxic Trev cosplayed at Wasteland Jamboree. And I got to have my cool moment because I sent like the reference pictures. It was so cool. It was so cool. I need sleeves. I'm not a big fan of being exposed to the elements. Nova from Good Springs. Right. You're like the East Coast and there's like the West Coast one. And I know I've already asked you that a million. Oh, I think I know that EXO one. I still think yours is better. Yeah, your armor looked cool. Every bit as cool as the Iron Man armor I saw at Dragon Con, if not better. It's the amount of precision. I'm really glad I got to see it like really close up. And I think that cosplayers and prop makers are like, I don't know, wizards, because that's just a skill I don't have. Has anyone been to Canada? No, I haven't. It's funny, I've never left the continental United States, so I've never been to Canada, Mexico, Hawaii, or Alaska. I have only, but I've been like everywhere in the bounds of this hellscape. Oh, I did not have armor. Trev did. If you guys see the Nuka Quantum X01 armor from Wasteland Jamboree, that's the guy right there. You met him in Lindsay's Fallout chat. It happened. Congratulations. I got turned away at the border once. I'm scared of borders. Hi, Lindsay S. Fallout. I just want to pop in and say love your vids. Thank you! Thank you! Actually, that reminds me of what I did want to say. Is, I am so curious. Who here is new? Confess. Who here is new to the Lindsay's Fallout stream? And what made you decide to stroll in today? I would love to hear that, because that's important data for me. I've been to Canada 3 times. I loved it each time. Buying a liter of milk in plastic bag was a great experience. Yeah, a liter of milk. Meanwhile, America's like, we're gonna have freedom units. One of my best friends lives in New Zealand, and he loves making fun of, like, how America just does things backwards for no reason. Like, the other side of the road, and he actually calls every Imperial unit, he just calls freedom units. In freedom units. Saturday is usually the date night, but girlfriend was feeling well, and saw that the stream was live. Yeah, Saturday is, that is the sacrifice that we make. This is the stream for nerds, for nerds who don't do things on Saturday nights. And I can't imagine, I really, really, really can't imagine being in a relationship. And that might be why I don't have one. I just can't imagine who would want to date this. Like, I can imagine girls being attracted to this, because, I mean, come on. But, a relationship with this? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't watch streams, anyone's stream. Sometimes, Neebs or Jawwoodle, those are excellent names. I don't know who those are. But I want a cool name like that. Neebs! What else were we talking about? We were talking about, the commenting versus posting thing. We were talking about limerence, the sexual gratification thing. Brownie points for your screen name. Yeah, I feel like I saw a lot of new names today. That was kind of nice. I love days like this when there's just so much activity in chat. I live for this. They are gaming channels. I have done some Fallout 4 playing streams, but I never enjoy those as much as just the free chatting ones. And so now that I've been sick, I have been sort of free writing. We have a lot of neurodivergent people. A lot of you are probably familiar with the concept of functional freeze. You guys know what this is? It's basically a nervous system overwhelm state where like lots of brain fog and the inability to like kind of choose a task. And I know what my solution is for functional freeze, and that is time blocking. Like for example, when the Fallout TV show was going on, I knew that I would watch the show on Wednesday morning, and then I would start working on the video for the week, and then I would finish it by Thursday night, and then publish it Friday morning. And I had like a routine, and I had no problem with the executive functioning of focusing on that video for those 2 days, because there was a pressure, because I couldn't start the video until the episode came out, and I knew that from that point until the video was done, I would focus on nothing but that video and just suspend the whole rest of life. The problem is the rest of life doesn't have time established that clearly, so you have to like decide which of all the things on your list you have to do. And I can get so overwhelmed with trying to decide what the priority task is, I can't even think straight. And then as a result, none of it gets done. So I need to like really sit and commit to like, on this day I'm gonna do this thing, on this day I'm gonna do this thing. And because once I do that, if I know I am working on XYZ on Monday, then I will give myself permission to not think about anything else in the world except for that one thing on that day. But I have to like divide which things are for which days. And until I do that, I'm in this functional freeze and I'm not getting anything done. So I figured in being sick was kind of like that, because being sick, I can't really do anything except for rest. So I could kind of forgive myself. And I'm like, okay, well, what I can do is just like write things down and sort of brain dump of like what I want to make sure that I'm making time for, and just have a plan that like I told Atlas, I think Monday is going to be Atlas day, and then Sunday and Tuesday I'm going to do client stuff. Hopefully eventually only Tuesday, but I have to do Sunday too for now because I'm behind on a thing. And then I can actually get things done. And because I'm really fortunate right now that I have so much to do. And I have a life that I like living, but I have to organize that life now. I'm really, really, really fortunate that I have a life that I like living that is only filled with stuff that I want to do that's worth my damn time. But in order to keep that life, I have to like time block, and I have to get this crap together. And it's hard because I have to like make these decisions in a brain state that is really, really resistant. This kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier about there are benefits in investing in things, you know? Like now I have this life that I want to invest in and build things in, and relationships in the Fallout community, like Trev, for instance, who it was so cool to see in person again. You know, I have these cool relationships at these live events with real humans, where I have an opportunity to connect with real meat space humans in a way that I don't really connect with humans well in normal day-to-day life, even though I do have best friends here in Portland that I love a great deal. I'm gonna scroll up and look at chat for a second. Yes, task paralysis, demand avoidance, yes, yes, yes. A bunch of punks and didn't have good reason to be there. The reason the US never converted to the metric system is because the ship that was carrying the master measurement equipment that Benjamin Franklin ordered from France was seized by the UK! So they had to just make up new shit? Many Fs, fight, flight, freeze, or fuck, depending on what you can. I'm suing the 90s. I'm. We gotta do something for my 40th birthday, y'all. It's not until July, but it's gonna be my 40th birthday. Speaking of F's. I remember having to learn both because of the ever-present threat. Can we please not talk about the hantavirus? I have medical anxiety. Then, okay. I won't talk about things. I don't know. Luckily, I don't know anything about the virus that shall not be mentioned again. 2 years later, during the pandemic, there was an uptick in blacksmithing, bladesmithing, general metalworking, and a lot of other slow hobbies, which caused a stockpile. That was a good one for me. What do you want to do for it? 40th? I don't know. I want to feel like I'm not gonna be alone for the rest of my life. That's really it. Like, I can't, like, that is like my biggest fear in life, is that I'm never gonna be in a relationship, because I can't imagine it. I cannot imagine it. And I'm scared that if I don't figure out how to imagine it, then how am I, like, you know, we've talked about, like, the Westworld thing, that, like, it doesn't look like anything to me. If something's, like, outside of your understanding, then it would be blank. Like, I wouldn't recognize the right person, I don't think. Because I was, when I, at the stage of my life when I should have been figuring out who I was in a relationship, I was trying to date men. No offense to the lovely men included, but just, I have test-driven that equipment to my satisfaction, and I will not be driving that off the lot. Yeah, Ravruna, this was actually one of the weird times for, like, I don't want you to apologize for anything, but, Ponderous Nerve was very clear that we were not talking about that subject anymore, and then you talked about it more. I didn't recognize the right person, but he recognized me. So nobody talk about the thing that starts with H. We have to be done with that subject. I didn't recognize the right person. But he recognized me and wouldn't let it go. I tried to chase my husband off so much, I'm shocked he married me. Wait, so... So it's like that song from Waitress? The You're Never Ever Getting Rid of Me? And then eventually you caved? A lot of people... Okay, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's a musical called Waitress, and there's a song called Never Ever Getting Rid of Me. And, basically there's a girl who works at this diner, and this guy, like, she has, like, kind of bad taste. She's, like, a lot of anxieties about relationships. And then she meets this guy who's, like, crazy about her, and he, like, will not let it go. And eventually, you know, she comes around, and they end up being really, really compatible, and they end up getting married at the end of the musical. And it's sort of controversial, because it kind of seems like he's not, like, I mean, he's not, like, respecting her boundaries, and in the end they end up together. And, and it's like, people are like, is it sending the message that if you're basically like in Always Sunny when Charlie is obsessed with the waitress, and, you know, eventually, like, they get together, like, a lot of people don't like the messaging of that story, and I see that angle on it, but what I think the musical was trying to say with that story is her resistance was really about, like, fear and paranoia. She has a song earlier in the show called When He Sees Me, and I love that song. Maybe that's something I'll sing if I ever do the singing channel. And it basically, she had this very idealized idea of what her partner was supposed to be like, that was basically, like, unobtainable, and she had all of these, like, nitpicky fears about, like, why she would push guys away. And this is, like, a really common sort of defense mechanism of why a lot of people don't end up in relationships, because they basically have this idealized idea in their head, and then it's sort of like the kind of the swipe left mentality that I was talking about before, where there could be somebody else, and, like, you know, like, what are the lyrics in the song? She says, like what if he talks too fast? What if he eats when he eats an Oreo, he eats the cookie before the cream? But eventually, like all these little nitpicky things, and then eventually she says, like, she kind of confesses that, like, or what if he actually sees me? You know, that's really what she's really scared of, is being seen. And so when this, like, this dorky guy, but, like, this dorky guy has all the same interests as her, and he really actually loves her and cares about her. And so I almost feel like if you think of him as, like, an individual guy kind of stalking her, then it's like a kind of a creepy, stalky thing. But I almost feel like he's more of sort of a metaphor of that, like, true love isn't going to give up on you. You know, your truth is always going to be there. So it wasn't really about a guy that she couldn't get rid of. It was about her truth that she couldn't get rid of. And that's just my reading of it. But, you know, I have similar thoughts about, you know, The Greatest Showman, which is one of my favorite movies of all time and one of my favorite, like, musicals of all time. It works a lot better if you don't think of the characters as people and you think about what they metaphorically represent. Like, in The Greatest Showman, Finn's wife represents the concept of love itself, which is why she's perfect and seemingly one-dimensional, because it's like a fairy tale. I really, really wish that it wasn't about P.T. Barnum or a real person, and you could just separate that from the story, because the story itself is a really beautiful fairy tale about not about choosing connection over ego. Bar. I'll be back in 15 or so. Go ahead, talk about it. My phone. No, we don't want to talk about it. It wasn't that important a topic anyway. We're off of it. My wife was engaged before we started dating. The day she broke up with her fiance, I'm assuming you meant set of finance, she was going to date the next guy that showed up at her door. Ha! But for years she told me and everyone else I was just the rebound guy. What? This is another reason why I can't imagine being in a relationship, is when I hear about other people talking about the origins of their relationships, I'm like, there's no way I would go through that. And honestly, I think that I attract women who... I don't want to say I attract women who want abuse. That sounds terrible, but... I don't know how to word that any other way. I think that... Okay, so I have this energy that's, like, really firm and confident and articulate, and I have this thing, this je ne sais quoi. And so I think that women who are drawn to me are, like, drawn to wanting to, like, look up to somebody or something. Like, people, like girls who want to be, who are kind of attracted to narcissists, quite frankly. And so then as soon as I'm like, oh, I'm actually vulnerable and I'm going to cry in front of you and I have needs, and they're like, whoa, that's not what I signed up for, buddy. You're supposed to be an emotionally unavailable narcissist that I chase. What is this crying nonsense? Why do you... And it's really confusing for me because I feel like, aren't you glad that I'm not, like, conquering your mind with manipulation tactics and that I'm, like, a real person? It's... I feel like something that comes up a lot in, like, in weird ways is that it really surprises people that I'm legit. Like, when I was talking about, like, the sort of issues that I've had with female friend groups, how they're always treating me like I'm a potential threat at all times, and, like, waiting for me to pounce and to conquer and to, like, everybody's like, because I give off all these cues that I'm gonna be this kind of person. and they don't really know what to do when I'm not. I attract submissives. Yes. Yes. Which would be fine if they didn't, like, fear me. Or, like, either fear me or, like, I talked about this on a stream once where I was talking about, like, you know, when I'm meeting somebody, I'm gonna walk 50% forward. And I expect her to walk the other 50%. And what always happens is I walk the 50%, and then she stays back there and is like, why aren't you walking the whole way? And I'm like, because you're supposed to walk the other 50%. And they either, like, if I don't walk the whole distance, they're like, I'm not, like, they're not interested anymore, or they don't want to connect. And then, like, when there's a girl who does walk forward, then I go, oh, cool, it's a girl who will walk forward. But then she doesn't give me any room to walk in 50%. Like, and that's, like, when I get involved in, like, the more sort of emotionally avoidant. And at first I'm like, oh, this is great. This is a girl that has, like, some confidence. And, doesn't expect me to, like, close the whole distance. That's cool. But then there's, like, no room for me at all. People who are not sure of themselves tend to either be attracted to those who appear super sure or who are broken and don't realize it from bad experience and not trying to sound like I'm hitting on you. Oh, there's been other stuff that you said that sounded like you were hitting on me way more. And this is not one of them. I think you've literally said I was hot before. Maybe more than once. You attract people. What was blocked that I said if it was you attract people who want to be nurtured? There's nothing nurturing about me. That's another thing. I need to be nurtured. I have mommy issues. I have straight up mommy issues. And that's another reason that I don't date. That's another reason that I don't date. Is because the overwhelming messaging that I'm getting is women are so sick of dudes who want them to be their mommy. And they're like, you know, anybody who's expecting me to be like a mommy is like, I'm like, well, then I'm sparing you, female population, because I absolutely do want a mommy. Like, I want the gentle femininity, but with some leadership. Like, I don't want to do all of the leading. I need to be taken care of. I need to be nurtured. Like, I think it was in one of the Fallout videos where I said something like, some of us, you know, the world is not your mom. For some of us, our mom wasn't even our mom. Like, my mom was my mom when I was little, and then my metaphorical Shady Sands blew up, and then I just kept getting absorbed in Brotherhood of Steels. But I want to be loved and cuddled, and that's actually something that was on my list that I was going to talk about. So now we're circling all the... And I thought that I was going to talk about this first, because I've been sick, right? So, when I'm sick... Earlier I was talking about how, what exactly was I saying? There was something really relevant that I was saying about, okay, now it's 7:51 and I'm planning on leaving at 8:30. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up on this. So, earlier I was talking about how I am, one of the reasons I thought I was a narcissist and why I had needs that other people couldn't meet, or why I constantly felt like I needed people to help me meet needs, is because I have chronic illness and ADHD and autism. Like, I literally do need to be taken care of more than I am. Like, my person, I'm gonna be counting on them to take care of me when I am sick. You know, they have to really love me and want to do that for me, because I'm going to need help. And, for now, being single, alone, living in a basement, thank God I have incredible friends, but I have to kick into fight or flight survival mode way more often than is healthy for my body just to function. in this world without a partner or a family. You know, um, I cannot physically withstand what it takes just to take care of me. Just taking care of me is beyond my capacity. And one of my primary reasons I want to be partnered is to have help taking care of me. And so if you combine that with being actually sick on top of chronic illness, then my fight or flight survival mode is red alert. I'm overclocking, overheating. And so before I even knew that I was sick, I was being really shitty to Atlas. Because what happened, because Atlas is kind of, he's definitely not a parent figure in my life, but he is my boss, and I am very dependent on the Atlas Omnicorp business to, basically, like, earlier I was talking about, like, I thought I had limerence and crushes on all these men because I thought I needed a man to survive. Well, I guess now as an adult lesbian, I figured out I didn't need to marry a man. I needed to go into business with one. So that's what ended up happening. I can't do things by myself. It's not physically possible. The demands of being a person, I'm like 3 years behind on my taxes because the demands of being a person are too much for just me, and I don't have a family, and I don't have savings, and it just sucks. Especially being that I'm going to be 40 this year. So, I'm already in fight or flight and edgy and low capacity default mode. So, add a cold on top of that, even if it's a simple cold, then my fight or flight survival amygdala survival system is aflame. So even before I fully recognized that I was sick, I was being really shitty to Atlas and really short in a couple of conversations, and I could feel it happening. Like, I call it losing your lobe, because when your amygdala is triggered, it cuts off your relationship with your frontal lobe and reasoning capacity. So, because I am sort of, and it's sort of like this really sad sort of side effect, that I can be shittier to the people who are really good to me that I depend on, because it's my survival instinct. Basically, I feel like I'm dangling from the edge of a cliff, and I'm like, I need you to help me up, or I'm gonna die, is where my nervous system is at. And then once I realized that I was actually full-on sick, I was like, oh my god, this makes perfect sense why I was being shitty to Atlas. Because it's literally a childhood trigger of me being mad at my parents for not taking care of me when I was sick. Like, my mom used to get mad at me for getting sick, because she didn't have the capacity to take care of me. So I learned to, like, aggressively fight to be taken care of, which is tragically ironic, because it doesn't exactly motivate people to want to help you when you scream at them, But I lose my lobe, so, like, I lose my ability to, reason, hey, if this is the person that you're counting on to take care of you, maybe you shouldn't scream at them. I only have access to a feeling of resentment of, why should I, because I see the lack of care, or perceived lack of care, as a betrayal, And then when I calm down, I'm like, oh my god, this is this person that is so, like, even when I'll try to tell him later, like, I really gave you something to carry that isn't yours to carry. He's like, no, I want to help you, because he's, like, super, grateful for what I do for the business. And then I'm like, that's really sweet. No, but seriously, I really shouldn't treat you like that. Like, and I really need to figure out how to get my needs met, in a way that, and read my own nervous system enough to know, and at least, thank God, and my therapist praised me for this, at least I was able to go, let's not talk until tomorrow, and I cool off before I make this any worse. And, and so considering all of that, and how women don't want to be anybody's mommy, I'm like, who the fuck would date this? Like, I feel like as the masculine party, I can't expect, I need to be stronger and to not need so much. But I do really do, like, that's like one of the primary things that I want from a partnership, is to know that there's somebody that I can count on. And, so I don't have to live in constant fight or flight all the time. But because I'm like the more masculine person, I feel like I'm expected to be the stronger one who can do more of the containing and not need to be contained. And so I just kind of don't date. Because I feel like I need something, and this kind of goes back to the whole feeling like being a narcissist thing, is that I feel like I need more than anyone has to give. And so, going back to me turning 40, if I could have anything for my 40th birthday, it would be to meet somebody who could actually help me, so I don't have to live in fight or flight fear all the time. And the fact that I'm going to be 40 and I have no idea how that's possible, because I can't really be less disabled. And what I've kind of learned from life is that money isn't going to solve this. Because even if I had a bunch of money and could hire staff, you don't want the best love that money can buy. Love has to come from something else. And so I feel very unlovable. Because I have chronic illness. And that is the biggest insecurity of my life that I just shared with the entire internet. So, sup, ladies? They don't want to clean up after and make decisions for their partner like they're a child. I mean, I don't really need to be cleaned up after, but sometimes I do need them to make decisions. Like, I get decision fatigue. I've said before that I am ever the cheerleader. I try to say things that support what you say, convey without any other context aside from admiration and hope of what is possible in life. Help taking care of me, chronic illness is an ever-present load for not just an actual relationship, but friendships as well, and why many of us self-isolate. Like, I'm terrified of being a burden. Being misunderstood when... Like, something that's really good about my relationship with Atlas is that it's really clear that I am providing something to our friendship and working relationship that is of value to him. And I have never... provided value to a woman before. You know? Like, I know exactly what I need, but women don't seem to want what I have to offer. And, so it's hard for, so all I can think about, so everything about thinking about a relationship just feels like inherently selfish. And it feels like a weird curse, because I know that women find me attractive. And sometimes it just feels like a real shame that, like... And then there's, like, sometimes this, not triggering, but sort of, irritating side thing of, I am a type that's very fetishized. You know, like, girls who generally date dudes, but then, like, they see Shane McCutcheon on the L Word, and they're like, that's, like, exciting, you know? Girls, love to fantasize or talk about women like me, but they don't tend to settle down with us all that often. They don't really want to take me to Thanksgiving. Being misunderstood or being able to convey simple things or being friendly nice is also why I'm terrified of another customer service job or being nice to anyone out of. Alright, Funky Deathclaw reminding you to like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. A vagus nerve stimulator? I've seen ads for those. Is that, like... Whenever I see stuff like that, I always assume that it's bullshit. But is it not bullshit? I have an alpha wave stimulator that I actually really liked, and I keep forgetting I have it. Find somebody like you where I live. You're pretty much my type. Why, thank you. Maybe not the entire internet, but maybe you can have a motherly figure in a relationship at some point. You can have both. In a bad nutshell, Lee's fault, more samesies, and you are like a live version of a voice in my head, so not giving the Matrix theory any help. Except for the 2,000 mile distance. Ain't that some shit? Terrified of being a burden is why many of us make ourselves small. Also why I love your channel and what you do, deem worthy to share. It makes you less irritable, so it actually works. Not that I've seen like an actual human in the world that that is getting something out of it. Maybe I will think about it. I should really try the alpha stim thing more often. I'm just really hoping that like I live a pretty outgoing life, and I feel like I'm pretty welcoming and open to talking to people, and that hopefully I'm like, if I could, form, this business / friendship with somebody like Atlas and the people that I'm friends with now organically, hopefully to God that can happen with a female. But now it's to the point that like I see a girl and it's like I'm like a middle school boy. I just kind of assume it's not gonna go well. Like I started to notice that actually at Wasteland Jamboree, that I'm like, wow, I'm looking around and I know all these dudes and I know all their names and I can walk up to talk to any of them, but as soon as they have like a female friend who comes to the circle, I'm like, girl. And the fact that I am a girl doesn't help at all. I'm like a 12-year-old boy when a girl enters the chat. Not here, but in real life. A full-on facial. Yeah, and like there's all sorts of things that help, like humming, singing. I'm hoping that once I start singing, my voice comes back, that will help. I just am shocked that like in those stupid interactions with Atlas, like how my brain like departed. Like there are certain issues, certain like topics of conversation where I cannot be mature and like respect other people's opinions because I feel so threatened by certain opinions. I don't even want to bring them up, to be honest with you. Teenage boy brain melt awkwardness is valid and frustrating, frustratingly uncontrollable. And also like a couple of my best male friends, and this is just an interesting thing that we connect about. They have issues with girls being afraid of them, mostly because of their physical size. So they're just like kind of, their personalities, their hearts are like warm, fuzzy teddy bear, but their physical size, triggers a fear response in women that makes them really sad because they can't really help what they look like, and it's really heartbreaking when people treat you with fear, especially when you didn't do anything. And I would try to like sort of bond with them, being like, yeah, I really struggle with that too, with women being afraid of me. And it's like they almost like didn't believe me. They're like, I can't imagine that you, this wee little girl, could possibly relate to what I'm saying. And I'm like, well, it's a different kind of fear, but women are afraid of me because of the sort of betrayal and expectations. It's I'm supposed to be a woman, I'm supposed to be on their team, I'm supposed to be making myself small to survive the patriarchy, and I just don't participate in that. And that kind of goes into like what I was talking about earlier, where there's this like, I'm attracting women who are attracted to abusers, because people really aren't used to, how can somebody be as firm and confident and opted out of the female submissive expectations the way that I do and not be an abuser. Like, that just doesn't make sense to people. How could I be like this and not be abusive? Like, why would I have this amount of confidence and firmness if I didn't acquire that via conquest? And as many of you, I'm sure, already know, it's that tism magic. It's just a pile of masculine autism that I inhabit in this physical form. I have conquered expectations for submissive shit because I was oblivious to the signals that I was supposed to be submissive. That's honestly the truth. I really do think it is. I really do think that my autistic monotropic tunnel just filtered out the social messaging that I was supposed to make myself small in a lot of ways. Not in all ways. In some ways I really did make myself small. I got identity disturbance, you know? But I still just make videos and I have really firm opinions and I talk loud and I do all of these things. I have to warn new hires at work that I'm not mean. I just have resting bitch face. I think I literally sometimes tell Atlas that it's resting autism face. But something that I'm really glad about, and not all autistic people feel this way, but I've told Atlas, like, what I don't mind doing to overcome a lot of those kind of social misunderstandings is I don't mind being extra nice. Like, I don't mind saying, hey, I need this and this, but I love you, no hetero. You didn't do anything wrong. Like, I don't mind. Like, a lot of autistic people are really irritated by having to do that. I don't mind it. I don't mind saying extra nice things. I don't have any resentment about that. You are a smart and retrospective cookie, which likely works to your benefit and detriment, which is totally understandable too. Yeah, that's another thing it took me a long time to sort of figure out, is that another reason why people treat me as a threat is because if they're full of shit, I will just say what I see. And I really didn't want to be one of those autistic people being like, people just hate me because I tell them the truth. Because it sounds so ego-serving, but a lot of times that really is what's happening. A lot of times it really is. Okay, so I feel like I have said everything that I think that I will be satisfied saying. I'm going to think really hard about the Feral Cools Discord idea so that we can send each other links and recommendations as they come to mind. And I hope that I feel better tomorrow. I really, really wish that my thermometer is out of batteries, and so I never really got to see if I have a fever or not. We didn't really talk that much about Fallout in this chat today, did we? I don't know, maybe I shouldn't be as self-conscious about that. Nobody seems to mind but me. I don't know. Especially considering how well the most recent video did, too. And I do know what I'm going to do for the next one, and it's going to be very similar. This is probably like one of my biggest videos. Actually, I should look. I'm curious about this. Everything is Fallout, isn't it? Fallout is life. Wow, the Fallout Trolls video is doing surprisingly well. I was thinking about taking it down, too. It's a good thing I didn't. Oh my god. I just got a comment that is, like, middle ground. Like, it's not something I think that warrants my nonsense reply, but it's just annoying to have to engage with it. And what really sucks is in a comment like this is it will just sit there. Like, I wish there was a way in the YouTube studio comment thing, like, what if I just want to skip a comment? I don't want to heart it, I don't want to reply to it, but I don't want to, like, delete it either. I want to delete it from... I don't want to look at it in my comment inbox, but I don't need to remove it from the video. It just... I don't want to think about it. It's just somebody who didn't understand the smoke detector analogy. I'm like... It's a hypothetical of a smoke detector that you don't know where it is. Why can't your brain wrap around that? Like, why do I have to do the work and not your brain? It says, I don't understand the smoke detector analogy. Smoke detectors have specific places in the house that they should be placed in, so their location shouldn't be random or unknown to the house occupants. In this hypothetical, it was unknown to the house occupants. Can your brain just not fictionalize this concept? Like, why? I just don't... that was a waste of my neurons to read that. And this is another thing about, like, comments that are annoying, is... I think I've talked about this before. There's a limit to how much I think the burden should be on me explaining something perfectly, and the audience member should just think about it. You know? Like, can you just... In that hypothetical, I said, imagine a smoke detector that you couldn't find. Imagine if this not true thing was real. And they were like, nope, not real enough. Like, oh my god, can you not watch... when this person watches a cartoon, do they go, people don't have outlines in real life. I don't understand. Like, when this person watches a movie with a score, do they go, you don't hear music in the background in real life? Like, how much of it has to be my burden of explaining something well? I'm just irritated. And that's gonna be there every time I open it up if I don't delete it or block this person. But it's not, like, offensive or hostile. It's just, oh my god, think. How much work does the content creator need to do? We flood you with other comments to vary it down. The thing is, the way this inbox thing works is as soon as I heart, reply, or delete, it goes away. So the comment will stay there until I do something about or with it. And I wish I could just, like, you know, in an email, you can just, like, send it to the archive. Like, I wish I could just send it to an archive. And be like, I don't want to delete it, I don't want to heart it, I don't want to reply to it. I just want it to not be there in my comment inbox anymore. Let's live a sad life with that. Oh, so you're talking about Fallout 5. I can't wait. And we're going to all wait for Fallout 5. We're going to all be ghoulified by the time we see Fallout 5. It's so funny because a friend of mine out here in Portland, he's not a Fallout fan, but he hears me talk about it all the time. And he's like, what is the holdup with Fallout 5? And I'm like, well, first there was Starfield, now there's Elder Scrolls, and it's just one company, and there's just a lot of other things going on. We're going to need to turn into Ghoul if we're going to see Fallout 5, and then... Hopefully that, like, by the time Fallout 5 is seriously underway, then Atlas Omnicorp is famous enough that, like, me and Atlas will have cameo guest voices. We're already fantasizing about that sort of thing. We're so ambitious. I know we're super creative, ambitious nerds. We want to be famous in our little niche. I had a suggestion that you answer the post with just a period. I'd love to read the response to that. Oh my god. Like, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, and I think this is gonna come up with the whole, like, nonsense reply thing, is I'm gonna there's gonna be comments like that where I'm like, isn't this why I came up with this idea, so that I could say something satisfying to these people? But when it's somebody like that, like, it's not like somebody bitching about the TV show. It's just... It's like that level of annoying that I should probably just be able to deal with. But man, the temptation to just be like, do you seriously not understand that metaphor? That fictional scenario? Like, you really can't... Like, yes, smoke detectors normally fit into these parameters. But in my hypothetical, I said a smoke detector behaves in a slightly different way than it does in real life. Can your brain seriously not do that? And why do you think that's a problem with my metaphor and not your brain? Like... Oh my god. There was another comment under the video that said something like... that was kind of similar to that. Oh! Oh, and this one I actually did reply. Somebody said something like... it doesn't make sense to discount that trolls are a real problem just because they're not because they're not a physics issue, even though they're like a sociology issue. And basically, like, it didn't make any sense to say, like, you know, did Stephen Hawking write A Brief History of Internet Trolls? Did Einstein write, was there Einstein's theory of internet trolls? And they were like, well, actually, it's not fair to talk about to discuss it in terms of physics when it's a different, like, school of thought. And I'm just like, you are not my professor, and this video is not a dissertation. Either you understand what I meant, or you don't. Like, if you don't understand what I'm trying to point out by splitting physical reality from a societal construct, which I immediately clarified after I made the physics jokes, I immediately clarified what I meant by that. Like, there are some people that I just want to ask them, can you tell the difference between an actual physical tree and the word tree? Can you grasp that the word tree, the definition of the word tree and the concept of a tree, is not the same thing as a physical tree in front of you that you can touch and smell? Because if you're not there, you can't hang with most things that I say. Like, if you can't tell the difference between a concept and the real physical thing that concept is referring to, then a lot of shit I say isn't going to make any sense to you. And frankly, the most direct example of that in today's society is the gender issue. Dictionary says man this, woman this. Anything else doesn't exist. Okay, you know that the physical human body with these giblets and this word and this definition, like, one is a label to define the thing over here. The thing over here is real and cannot be changed. But the label and the categorization can be changed. The way that we label, name, and define ideas are abstractions that can be changed. And if we learn more things about the physical things over here, what makes more sense? To update our words, definitions, and concepts? Or to insist that the things in physical reality need to conform to our understanding? Understanding is supposed to evolve and change as it gets a better grasp of what's going on in reality. Okay? I am exhausted by how many people, like, limit their grasp of reality according to the topographical political map that is sitting on top of their reality. Like even before this gender revolution, like, there was a concept called a hermaphrodite that existed. Like, and the stuff that's going on with gender in the animal and plant kingdom is so much crazier than what humans are claiming is real right now. So much crazier. The uneducated are easier to control. But even the concept of education is also dictated by power. Like, just, critical thought, awareness. Some people can't see the forest for the trees in the way. All words are made up. Words are just tools to bridge meaning between different people. And sometimes tools need to be sharpened. Sometimes tools need to be upgraded. Very Christian tendency to argue that any translation of the Bible after the King James Version has been tampered with, as though the King James Version is... Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry I did that earlier. I should have actually really tried to go away for 10 minutes if I hear something I don't like. My vulnerabilities are just not being taken care of properly. And and that's Ponderous Nerve. That is kind of what I was saying earlier, right? When I was being shitty to Atlas, because my nervous system was on red alert because I was getting sick. That's the thing that's so crazy, is that was happening even before I knew I was getting sick. Because my body was doing so much work and making room for the stuff he was saying. I didn't have the room because I was at capacity. Eventually, some of you, I think, were there when I was working on, like, this truth gears idea, which is my, like, concept of fact versus opinion, or my update to the concept of fact versus opinion. And it's going to go into a lot more of this kind of stuff. For those of you who were here, we were talking about how something can be very true to one person and not true to another. And how, like, one of my favorite examples from the Fallout TV show of this is when, Lucy was talking about after the bombs dropped. And then Maximus said the bombs fell when I was a kid. And she's like, is that what they told you in your brotherhood? Having no idea that they were talking about two different bombs. In a bar nutshell, I'm fascinated by many things through times that have shaped things and why things are the way they are today. I usually don't ask people to stop talking about things. I don't get too affected by most things, but anything medical related, I just freak out. I mean, probably in general, it's probably a good rule of thumb to just excuse yourself and not kind of demand that everybody around suit you in that context. But I kind of backed you up because I didn't really feel like that topic was like that important. It was just sort of chit chat. And so it didn't really feel like it was too much to ask to sort of steer things in another direction, especially because, it's my channel and I can kind of dictate. Um, like I think that, and also like in this sort of like sort of chatter, stream chat sort of chaos, it's just sort of hard to get people um, to steer like that. So I probably would have like bounced out of chat for a couple minutes without announcing it and then came back. Um, but it's understandable. But I'm sorry that you had that moment. I'd had an ex for whom the war referred to the US Civil War. For many others, it meant World War II. Yeah, there's stuff like that all the time. Here's an idea. When Fallout 5 comes out, we all put a bar sign at the entrance of our bases so we can go to a place where everyone knows our names and we were always glad we came. Yeah, that almost makes you think that, like, Feral Cool Bar. But then that feels like too long a name. You know what we'll do? Okay, the Discord will be called like Feral Cools, and then like the general chat will be called Bar. The catch-all. I think because COVID just was a huge trigger word, I don't even use COVID as a typical word. I still call it the pandemic because some servers like banning the word COVID so people wouldn't trigger. Yeah. I'll give you an example of like, how I told you that, guys, that I used to have a Discord called like Lindsay's Echo Chamber, and because it was sort of the personal development area, and I wanted this space where, basically, I wanted a space where my triggers and boundaries would be respected, but I felt this obligation where if I wanted mine respected, then I had to respect everybody else's too, which was impossible because everybody had contradictory triggers. Like there wasn't like whenever you have a bunch of people in one space, something's got to give. So that was kind of why I wanted to call it Lindsay's Echo Chamber, because I was like, I just need a place where my triggers are respected for the love of God. So if people want to come in to my space, then they have to respect mine, and if they don't, which is kind of what Lindsay's Fallout essentially is in a lot of ways, right? But I felt like it was unfair for me to do that without respecting other people's, but it was kind of impossible. And I remember a huge point of contention with, especially hanging out with a bunch of neurodivergent queer people, was a lot of, for understandable reason, a lot of trans women have an issue with the word dude. And it makes a lot of sense because how often has the word dude been used to hurt trans women, if you really think about it? She's a dude. She's a dude, right? Dude looks like a lady. And however, I identify as a female dude. Dude is an extremely positive word for me. Dude is how I relate as a masculine woman hanging out with other dudes. Me and my sister said dude all the time. If you've seen the last Bill and Ted movie, which is great, by the way, the Bill and Ted Face the Music, I think is what it's called. In Bill and Ted Face the Music, their kids are now like teenagers, and they're both girls, and they call each other dude because they're Bill and Ted's kids, and they're like dude, dude, dude. And I loved it because it was girls calling each other dude, and it reminded me of me and my sister. And so that is a very healing and positive word for me. And in order for me to make space for a lot of trans women who had this trigger, I couldn't say dude in my echo chamber. And that was really hard for me. Oh, Phaedrian, good night, Phaedrian. Thanks for coming. I should go in a second, too. It's hard to text sometimes since, I don't know, hard to express that feeling. Like, I was just wanted to contribute. and more mental health than neurodivergent servers and then anything else. So certain things were off topic, which honestly I felt was kind of ableist because it didn't help people to use their skills. Yeah. It is really I think something that's just kind of a hard reality is in order to live in an inclusive society, we have to allow small communities that aren't inclusive of everything. We can't expect all the small communities to be inclusive of everything. We have to be inclusive. Like, a society that is inclusive of the fact that my dating repertoire is not inclusive of men, you know? Like, a society that is inclusive of a woman whose dating pattern is male exclusionary. I spend much of my life in that limbo. It's understood because it was a safe space from other triggering stuff. Yeah, I mean, just the reality is, sometimes you just have to keep looking for the community that's just full of people who don't lean in a direction that bothers you. Like, the last couple communities that I was somewhat involved in that I distanced myself from, was for a really abstract reason. It wasn't because of, like, using certain triggering words or triggering ideas. It was because both of these communities were clearly adhering to kind of toxic, narcissistic people, and I could just see it really clearly that, like, a sort of Regina George sort of games that were being played, and the leadership of these communities basically kind of let these people sort of steer the energy of and I was just like, I just want to tell these fucking Regina Georges to fucking shut the fuck up. But if I say anything, the thing that really sucks about being a truth teller is if nobody else notices the truth before you, then it looks like you brought it up. I feel like I've brought that up before in a Fallout video, like talking about norm maybe, where if you're the first person to bring up the problem and nobody else notices it, then it looks like you invented the problem. And I realized if nobody else is seeing this toxic behavior and they're just going along with it and getting steered by it, then I don't really feel safe in this community anymore. And lo and behold, one of these communities, like years later, talking to somebody who was involved in it, they were basically talking about how I was fucking right about everything, and that the situations got really bad, and they were starting to get really frustrated that people weren't standing up against these toxic people. And I got to be like the friend that totally backed them up, being like, yep, you were right. I was calling this out ages ago, and I think it's a really big problem, and a lot of good people are leaving this community because they refuse to be steered by these kind of Regina George tactics. And Godspeed, drawing a line. But it's really hard in that kind of situation because the problem was so abstract. It was so, but it's really funny. I was describing it to somebody else who had left the community because I was like, I'm starting to see this stuff going on. And I didn't even make the Mean Girls Regina George reference, but when I talked about something that this toxic person was doing, they made the comparison. They were like, oh, like on Wednesdays we wear pink. And I was like, exactly. And I think that's why it's kind of cool that Mean Girls was such a culturally significant movie, because it did such a good job of pointing out how subtle this stuff is. Like, another one of my favorite things in Mean Girls is, and this is the kind of stuff that I see happening in real life that I'm mad if I can't point it out. Like, you guys might remember in Mean Girls, it's like one of the first conversations between Katie and Regina, and Katie and Regina says, "You're really pretty." And Katie says, "Thank you." And Regina says, "So you agree? You think you're really pretty?" And kind of spins it around so that, like, Katie has to, kind of confirm that, like makes her kind of question her confidence about that. And that shit, like when I hear that and see that kind of shit in real life, I go like fight or flight, red flag. Because I'm not just mad that I see the manipulation happening, I'm also mad that nobody's gonna fucking believe me if I point it out. Like, I'm mad about that whole story arc in advance. My ADHD brain is connecting all of the trajectory of where this is going. And then I'm mad. I was actually like ranting to Atlas about how this makes me mad. Because Atlas is holistic and he's okay with like playing social games. Like, he will see these games, but then he'll just play it. He'll pass the beach ball across the pool water. But I get resentful because all I want to do is point out what Regina is doing, but I can't because then I'm going to get in trouble for being the truth teller and for creating a problem where there wasn't one. And I resent it. I used use the word guy for men, but guys as a neutral term. So many people do, but I use dude neutrally and dudes to address a group of men. I'm lucky that I have enough Southern in my language that I say y'all. Even if we treat uncomfy as purely physical, because quite often it's needed for positive change to occur. If someone claims to know everything, major red flags. Kudos to you for sticking to your convictions. The hard part is, like, you have to be okay with being alone. That's really the hardest part. And my rehab counselor warned me about that a long time ago. I was in rehab in 2019 to 2020. And my rehab counselor was starting to see the stuff that I was kind of starting to face. And he warned me, it's going to be lonely. You know, that if you're not going to play along with this stuff anymore. And you have to be patient with finding the environment that is not going to trigger you. Seeing what is being conveyed or about to happen, but becoming the enemy if you point it out, yeah. Yeah, and then not wanting to just do it I told you so dance. Luckily with this particular friend, I really didn't feel a need to do an I told you so dance. I was so relieved that he was finally seeing it. And you know what else I ended up kind of finding later? Is there were a lot of people that I thought didn't see what I saw in some of these situations. And it turns out they did see exactly what I saw. They just didn't trust me enough to kind of be in on it with me. Like, they did see it. And I feel like I kind of got to a place of maturity where I didn't feel betrayed about that. Like, there's a lot of stuff where I just was really rushing the process because of the ADHD impatience. And I really, like, and there were other things. Like, there's been kind of some stuff like that with Atlas, too, where, like, where I thought that people were, like, lemmings, and I thought they were sheep and going along. When they actually saw the exact problem I did, they were just playing it their own way. And I think for my autistic wanting to, you know, be 100% honest all the time, what I really, really needed to do was to build relationships with the right people long enough that we could start having honest conversations about, like, what was happening. And I had to learn, like, there's people, like, once I get to a certain amount of closeness with somebody, I don't need to respect their need to lie to me and keep things from me. But if it's somebody that I haven't known that long, it's gotta take a long time for them to, like, I actually try to, you know, be direct and honest way too fast, and faster than is safe. A good response for her to say would be something like, I think everyone should be able to feel pretty, don't you? Oh, that's the kind of shit that I do that makes people hate me. So, like, in that example, the Regina George thing, this is the kind of shit that I do that makes people think I'm a narcissist, and they can't believe that I'm not a predator, that I'm not like a conqueror with this confidence. I actually really like that you brought that up, because this is a really good tie into what I was saying earlier about like why people like don't trust me. Is if I said, if they said you're really pretty and I said thank you, and they said, so you agree with me, you're really pretty? I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm really pretty. I mean, obviously, look at this. Like, I would just lean into it. I do the full Robert Downey Jr. You know, even Kiwi is like kind of talked, my buddy Kiwi kind of talks about it like it's almost like a Lindsay quote thing for me to be like, sup ladies. Because there were a lot of issues with my family, but something that I really my grandma deserves some credit for is I remember like somebody was mad at me in like elementary school, and this was in the 90s, so this is why they use this phrasing. They said that I think I'm all that, if anybody remembers that, all that. And I said that to my grandmother, and my grandmother was like, what's wrong with thinking you're all that? And I really thought about that, and I'm like, what is wrong with thinking I'm all that? You know, I was never like narcissistic. I mean, I was about certain sometimes, but I had dignity. I thought I deserved good things, and that I'm good at things that I'm good at. And the inference that I think I'm better than other people isn't made up. You can think you're awesome without thinking you're better than other people. And that was always really obvious to me. You know, like, even like my spiritual beliefs is I think we're all pieces of God. All of us. I'm a god, you're a god, we're all God. So if I say that I'm a god, that doesn't mean I think I'm more of a god than you are. I think the problem is that most people don't embrace their godhood. They don't opt into love. I think I'm more aware of how awesome I am, and I think other people should be more aware of how awesome they are. It's a matter of awareness, not a matter of superiority. Like, I think there's a lot of things in our culture that I look like I think I deserve special treatment because I think I deserve to be treated better, but I think everybody should be treated better. I think we live in a traumatizing culture in general. I don't think that I'm asking for too much. I think everybody else is more often than not settling for too little. The only time that I feel like I deserve better treatment, or I seem like I deserve better treatment, I think I deserve better treatment than other people, is that I'm standing up and fighting for it and other people aren't, and that's their business and their problem. But I'm not gonna fight for what I think I deserve just because other people don't fight for what they deserve. I think it's a matter of confidence, not a matter of superiority. But that doesn't make sense to people. Like, I often trigger feelings of, who does she think she is? Thinking that she deserves this and that. I'm like, I don't know. I think I have dignity. Where's yours? Directing way too fast. The wear my heart on my sleeve. Yes. Yeah, if you show all your cards, then people will use that to cheat. The being humble versus acknowledging personal strengths, others' weapon against us. Yeah, so I have to socially thrive in an environment where I can say that I think I'm awesome, and that's another thing that doesn't make sense to people, is like, how can I say that I think I'm awesome and that I deserve good things and that I'm a badass, but then also be a big baby that needs a mom to take care of her? Because I don't think that my value and my needs contradict each other. I think it's possible to be a big baby who needs a mommy who is also awesome. But you can see how easily that combination can make somebody think you're a narcissist. All that and a bag of chips. Thanks for being a potential stronger voice in my head versus the others that were once IRL and that still hold me back. I got plenty of those myself. I can't believe how often I still run my thoughts. I started an article, I never finished writing it for my Substack, but with the general idea of whenever I start catching that there's some sort of toxic idea that's stuck in my head, the root of it is always something of, I don't have the right. I don't have the right to expect this. I don't have the right to, so whenever I have that thought of like, how dare how I don't have the right to expect this or that, I stop and examine that. Like, where did I get the idea? Where did I get that how dare I idea? And who does that serve? You know? The idea that I don't deserve this or that. Who benefited from me believing that? One of the most deceptive... This is what I'll leave y'all with, because I should go. This is the idea that seems so deceptively simple. It almost sounds like it's not true, but it is true. And once you realize that this is true, it kind of reshapes everything else. And that is the difference between an idea and a belief is an idea that is repeated over and over and over and over again and unchallenged. That's it. That's it. That's it. It feels so much more serious than that, doesn't it? But if an idea is repeated in your head enough, and it is not challenged, then you believe it. So if you believe that you don't have the right to do something, if you think you don't have the right to do something, or that this is too much to ask for, and you don't stop and interrupt that, then it becomes a belief. And most of our beliefs are just ideas that we hear over and over and over again in our heads and in the real world, unchallenged, over and over and over and over again. It's just repetition unchallenged. That's it. And if your social environment is constantly repeating an idea and not challenging it, it will become your belief. Sounds like a defense mechanism to me. If you don't believe you have the right to do a thing, that you can't be hurt by not getting it. Yeah. It absolutely can be. That is an absolutely, there's so much truth to that. Well said. A lot of things are defense mechanisms. That's probably how religious groups... Yeah, absolutely. And if you're constantly... And especially if you're looking at like a religious component, if everybody in your social environment is repeating the same idea, and it is socially unacceptable to challenge that idea, you'll believe it. There are a lot of people who, even if they do see counter evidence to a certain idea, they'll still adopt it as their belief, because if everybody else in their culture and their surrounding social environment believes it, then what's the point of believing anything different? I think that's a lot of why my parents believed what they believed, is because what's the function of believing something different if it only makes you social pariah, and you need social inclusion in order to meet your needs? It's dangerous to believe something different. Are worthy, valid, and help me remember there is hope. Yes, there is. There is hope. I've often said IRL that everyone's alloyed. We're all strengths and weaknesses, and neither precludes the other, so we're all stronger in some ways, weaker in others. There's beauty and dignity. Yeah, that's funny. That's one of the reasons why, I mean, this is a can of worms probably, but I thought it was kind of a shame how much Autism Speaks has ruined the puzzle piece symbol, because the puzzle piece symbol could have been a really beautiful symbol for how we all have, like, things to offer, like things that are sticking out, and then deficits, things that we need help with, and how we can all join together and link with our deficits and our weaknesses. But because Autism Speaks sucks, the association with that symbol is so negative now. Heathens. We're ferals. We're uncivilized. I'm not a puzzle piece though, but I like your explanation. Even if you don't believe what they believe, you can use their belief as a way to translate your ideas and get them on your side. Yeah, I think that's an important point about communication in general. It's all about, you can't bridge a gap between where you are and where somebody else is without knowing where they are. ABA. I was a behaviorist. That's the true fact about Lindsay. I was a behaviorist for like 2 years. I almost minored in behavior analysis. Um, that is a weird thing that's will be true about me forever. But having that experience kind of benefits any arguments that I could make about ABA, about the problems with ABA, because I have firsthand experience. I have filled out ABC charts. I could tell you everything about ABA. I could tell you about how one of these days. One of these days. But here is the funny thing, is I was learning it to control my own behavior. The thing that's really horrific about ABA is that it works. It is, that's one of the things that makes it so evil. You did make it back, and I'm, like, literally about to leave, but I'm having fun. Being late diagnosed, I kind of like the puzzle piece. My life always felt like I was missing a piece to the puzzle. It's such a simple visual diagram. It's like sometimes it's like it's just there's like the way that you can interpret a symbol, and then there's the cultural connotation with autism speaks has just sort of ruined it, and it makes me really sad because I love really clean, good metaphors, and I really wanted to use that metaphor when I was doing a lot of autism stuff, but you can't. It's ruined. Yeah, ABA is a really specific, I mean, these are all different modalities. I personally think ABA is really helpful to use on yourself. And that is why I studied it. To control my own behavior. If you want to talk about more about Fallout, I wanted to hear your idea of what if Lucy was an evil protagonist. What do you think will come? I think it will be entertaining. Well, depends on how you define evil protagonist. When I think evil good guy, that's Moldaver to me. I'm already 30 minutes over what I wanted to do. I'm gonna go ahead and go. I'm gonna go. Now I am doing the autistic thing where like I'm having trouble like transitioning, and I should get in bed. I can't believe I've talked as long as I have. I think hydration. What if she asked you? What if she asked you was a big believer in her father's belief and was the perfect corporate manager? I don't think that's gonna happen. I think that her character is, steering in a different direction. I think she's a lot more likely to, if she was to become more of an evil good guy kind of thing, it would be more like in the Moldaver direction, because it's clear that she's softening to the NCR because of the line about, because she hates the Legion, and if the NCR is the other guy. I think what's going to happen is her and Maximus are going to go in the direction of supporting the NCR, and that Lucy is going to start seeing holes in NCR shit probably before Maximus does, because Maximus is going to want to believe, and it's going to be like Vault 4 again, possibly. Or maybe they'll do something interesting and flip it. Maybe, I still think it makes sense for both of them to head toward the NCR. But what if Lucy, now that she doesn't have a dad to believe in anymore, what if she gets super attached to the NCR? And then Maximus is the one that starts to see holes in it because of the wisdom he got from the Brotherhood of Steel. And the roles kind of flip. And Maximus is the one that's like, I know you want a safe place, but this isn't it. And then he tries to remind her of Moldaver basically selling her perfectly preserved pie. And this is something that has still not really been talked about, is it looks like Moldaver made an arrangement with the Raiders that he could fuck Lucy before they destroyed everything. It's like they waited until he fucked her before all hell broke loose. Like, it seemed like that was a part of the deal that Moldaver made with the Raiders to... And that has not been addressed yet. And if Moldaver arranged that as a representative of the NCR, that kind of seems like it would kind of taint Lucy's, idea that the NCR is just problematic and they're fine as long as Legion, Like, they haven't made that connection yet. Lucy could become House's VP. I want to see Norm work for House. I want to see Norm work for House. I want that so bad. I want Norm to be House's protege so bad. I get tingles thinking about it. If the series started with her being evil or not, that she's transitioning, but it's good to hear your opinion on this too. Like, is it possible that Lucy, like, was always destined to be evil because of her because of her Vault-Tec influence? I don't think so, because of the way she landed in the situation with her dad by the end of it. What if Lucy, seeking a father figure, gravitates more toward the ghoul? It would require her running away from realizing she doesn't need a father figure in her life. I feel like if they were going that direction with the ghoul, they would have done it by now. I really think that the idea with the ghoul is that it's a potential future self for her, but not a father figure situation. It's more like her looking at him and seeing her potential future and deciding whether or not she's going to allow herself to become that. I feel like that's what they keep coming back to more. Because he hasn't really had, other than like him putting his hand on her back when she was puking, there hasn't really been a lot of parenting vibes, I don't think. Norman House is a perfect missed opportunity if they don't do that. I will be so sad if they don't. But he's not even anywhere close to Vegas, though. I don't know how he would get over there. But I will scream if season 3, Norm gets to Vegas. Because Norm is not going to be, dare I say, a yes man. Because House is lonely. House is bored. He was even lonely and bored in New Vegas. And I think that Norm will challenge him in a way that will be thrilling. I don't think that House has ever... I mean, obviously everybody knows that I think House is autistic and that I think Norm is autistic. And I don't know if House has met another one of him before in his life. I think that Norm will fuck him up. And I think that House will fuck up Norm. And I think it would be incredible. Alice is here! Bar! Of course, like, as I've been saying, like, for the past 30 minutes that I'm leaving. There's a series that we started watching her as a main character being evil, like an evil playthrough. Sorry, I guess you're asking such an abstract question. What if there was what if there was a new series that we started watching? Okay, so this is like an alternative. So this isn't a sequel. This isn't a theory about the current show. This is like, what if the show started over and she was evil from the beginning? How would it be different? Well, I mean, the first question I'd ask is, what is different about what happened to her? There would have to be something that happened to her that would have changed her trajectory to see the world in a different way. Barring you back in, yeah. So what would an evil Lucy playthrough look like? I think once you worded it as, like, picturing it an evil Lucy playthrough, that made it easier for me to conceptualize what you're asking. So what choices would she have made differently? So an evil version of Lucy... Let's start from that core idea of her believing that she is righteous. Well, first, evil Lucy would have held the ghoul serum over the ghoul and wouldn't have just given him all the serum. She would have made the ghoul her bitch, for sure. That's probably the biggest change that would be different. Um, and then let's say hypothetically, so she would have had the ghoul with her when she found Maximus in the suit. Would she have killed Maximus and taken the power armor? Oh my god. I guess so. And maybe the ghoul would have encouraged her to do it. And then the next thing they would need to find a fusion core. So they'd be looking for the head. Thaddeus now has it. They would have had in the Pip-Boy, they would have been able to track. So then they would have gotten to Thaddeus, and they would have gotten the head, and then they would have gotten the fusion core and put that in the power armor. So then Lucy and the ghoul would have the power armor, and Maximus would be dead. This is a sad alternate universe. Hmm. There has to be a different start for her, but if I had to say something, I guess her indoctrination by her father was more effective. Because the horrors that she faced during her wedding really would have reinforced what her father said all along. Yeah. But I'm still like breaking down like everything before she would have even gotten to Hank. So by the time she got to Hank and Moldaver, with the power armor and the ghoul, um, and the head, then the Brotherhood of Steel wouldn't be there. And she probably would have just killed Moldaver. I'm sorry if that was that gross. I do have a cold. You were all warned. I guess the real big change will be once she meets her father, would she choose the... She wouldn't have been so upset about Shady... She wouldn't have even known about Shady Sands. Because she didn't go on the journey with Maximus. She might not have even known about Shady Sands by now. Okay, now I'm really leaving. um... Oh yeah, would she... Like... Would she have ended up at Vault 4? She might not have ended up at Vault 4 because the only reason she went in there was to find medical supplies for Maximus. Because I've had an NDS support work, I'm just under... If I wasn't watching the stream, I would have thought you were turning a page into a big textbook or something. Really? Oh, and I'm about to leave too, Ellie Littlehorn, but thank you for stopping by for a second. She might have been cool about Shady Sands. I don't know. Because I mean, we're looking at a version of Lucy that... Like, that goes back to, like, what I was saying earlier about, like, if she's evil Lucy, why is she evil Lucy? Like, I really like the ghoul serum thing being the pivot point because that was so 50-50. Like... Because there are other times where she does choose the karma hit, right? And I like that one as being, if she made the karma hit choice at that point, how that would have kind of changed the trajectory. Okay, this is too interesting a topic and I have to go. So I'm leaving and I love you all so much. And I will have a video this week and hopefully I'll be less sick tomorrow. And this was really, really fun. And it has been so much fun having so many people here. And I will give more thought to the Discord thing. And nah, bummer, I have to catch you another time. Wanted to say your last couple of videos have really hit me. Oh, good. I'm new to the channel, but I love you and I love your content. Yay! Well, I look forward to seeing more of you, and thank you for coming by. I am not going anywhere. I mean, I'm going somewhere now, but you know what I mean. And, you guys are the best. And have a good night. Thank you and good night!